unless it's emergency. You got your iPads, so I mean, no YouTube videos back there while he's talking. But really, this is a great time in our company. Obviously, a lot of new people, a lot of newer people. There's not a whole lot of people in here that've been here over a year. Phone skills, for the last 3 years, we kind of took the most of the inbound sales ups and channeled them into just one section of every store, the internet office. So
Nathaniel Ziegler to the office, please. Nathaniel Ziegler, please to the office.
I know
Jamie
in my
Jansen,
store,
you have call holding on line 1. Jamie, line 1.
We'll no longer just kind of have just a couple of people getting all that opportunity. And this is what needs to happen. This is a point in your sales career, whether you stay with us for 20 years or you end up your life leads you somewhere else. Your ability to control conversation on the phone is going to be key. So I'll let Chris talk. If you guys have any questions, I'm sure you can raise your hands. We'll take a break here in the middle of this morning session. Probably we'll break out like for a 15-minute break, wherever you feel like you need to. Lunch will be downstairs in the deli.
At what time? I could adjust accordingly.
Yeah, I think noon. Let's do it at 12. And then probably 30, 45 minutes. What you'll do is when you go down there, it's best to eat up here because there's not nearly enough tables down there to eat. And I'm not sure what they're making, but I know it's a full meal. Pop, that type of thing. Surf and turf. And then come back up here and we'll try to get started. Because I want to get everybody back on the floor, back on the road by 3:30. So, Chris, it's all yours.
All right, thank you. Hello, everyone. How's everybody doing? How's everybody's month going?
All right, good.
We'll wrap up with a strong month? Yeah, good. Yeah, there is a lot of opportunity. And hopefully what we talked about today and what Dan was talking about earlier is really the ability to handle a phone call effectively, because the customer will, many times get you off track, throw you off track. It happens no matter how long you've been talking on the telephone, no matter how many phone calls you've ever taken. The customer will get you off track. So knowing that and accepting that, we have to know where we're going to get back on that track to continue with the phone call. Ultimately, which I'll get into here in a little bit, but ultimately, selling the appointment, because that's all we're about here at the telephone. Okay, we're just here to sell the appointment, nothing more. Sell a little bit about ourselves, a little bit about the dealership. But really, ultimately, is the appointment where we get them here in an ethical way, in a transparent way, to sell them a car where we have the most control in the showroom. So if that makes any sense to you, or doesn't make any sense, hopefully we can make more sense of it as we move forward. So a little bit about me. I first started selling cars in 2000 up in the mountains of Harrisonburg, Virginia, with a Toyota store. And I was really one of the real new guys there, but all the other sales agents there were, very seasoned. So one of the things that really got me into interest in the telephone is that we had to do a 90-minute shift each day in a BDC, and that 90-minute shift was taking phone calls and staying appointments. But as I was looking out the window while I was doing my 90-minute shifts, I'd see the seasoned sales guys outside, taking up selling cars, and here I am on the telephone. It didn't really match up to what my thoughts were on selling cars, and they stuck me into this room for 90 minutes every single day. So I kind of fought it. I was like, I need to be out on the lot selling cars like they are. I'm going to fall behind. But then, something clicked. Went for a couple months, and this BDC stuff or answering telephone stuff really, wasn't getting it done. So I decided to, switch my mindset and go full force with it and see, what was really coming about this, because this was, 12, 13 years ago. Internet departments really weren't anything significant then, and the BDCs were really starting to kick off in little areas of the country. So I decided, put forth all my effort, see what these call guides would do for me, and see, how good I could really get on the telephone. So, long story short, I started selling most of my cars, actually about 90% of my vehicles, strictly from taking the phone up and setting an appointment. Of course, the customer come in, I do from A to Z, but it started making sense to me. I was like, wow, you handle these phone calls correctly, appointments are set, they come in, and then you sell a car, versus waiting on that lot up that we really know, not much about. So that's how it went for a few years as I was selling cars. Moving through the years, I've held many management positions in a dealership, from sales manager, finance director, GSM, and of course I recently left the Southern Auto Group in the Virginia Beach area as the e-commerce business development director for the group. So I have a near and dear heart to handling phone calls and setting the appointments so they can come in and buy cars. For about 18 months, I don't know if you're familiar with the Drive and Sales platform, but it's an industry social platform, so to speak. A lot of best practices where you can log on and see what's going on in the industry. If you got questions, if you're looking for help on something. I was the community editor with them and their dealership innovation guide. So a lot of my articles, if you want to learn more about me and how I move forward with Phone Ninjas, I have a lot of articles on the Drive and Sales. Or if you just Google, you can find a lot of it too. So I was a featured speaker at the Drive and Sales Executive Summit in Las Vegas last year, speaking on customer loyalty, which is another strong point of mine. And then, of course, not soon after, I became Vice President of Training with Phone Ninjas and Jerry Tebow, who many of you, and I know Dan knows who he is, and here I am. So, and I'll also be, I don't know if you guys are going to be going to any conferences this year, but I'll be speaking at probably every one of those throughout this year, so hopefully maybe I'll see you when you get there. So enough about me. I put this up here. It's a little cartoon. No, I can't be bothered to see any crazy trainer. We got a battle to fight. I don't see it here. You guys seem very in tune, so thank you for being here, and I certainly appreciate your time. But many times you see somebody coming into training and say, oh my gosh, I got to get out and sell a car. I got other things to do. I got this to do. And you guys are grabbing your swords to go out and do battle. Okay, but here I am, the crazy trainer, so to speak, here to give you a little bit more, ammunition so you can move forward in your career and sell more cars, sell more appointments, really what we're talking about here. So that's what I put up there to, try to get a little laugh, but you guys didn't laugh. Training interaction, ask questions at any time. Just raise your hand, please. We got a big group here. So just, if you see, just raise your hand, I'll find you. Please put all your cell phones on silent and vibrate. No sleeping, obviously. With the dim lights, I don't think it will be hard. But manuals are yours to keep. Okay, so please take notes anytime.
Did everybody get a manual?
Everybody have one?
Okay.
Everybody got a workbook? Good. And as Dan and I discussed, just a few minutes ago, we're going to take a couple 15-minute breaks to break this up and move forward. So if you guys have a pen, I hope you do, you guys can write this. I passed out one of my business cards earlier, but just in case that goes somewhere or you throw it across the room, we try to throw it somewhere because they are throwing stars. You can write this down. That's my email address, chris@phoneninjas.com. You just write that in the front cover. And my cell phone, 757-289-1860, okay? Wireless or text, whatever you want to do. If you have any questions, any concerns, anything I can do to help you, anything I can write custom, please, reach out to me and I can, make it happen for you. Can everybody see that? All right, we're getting ready to get into module 1, which is phone ups. Okay, the morning session, just to give you guys a quick overview of how this is going to go. The morning session is really going to be geared towards inbound phone calls. Okay, handling the phone call, the way Phone Ninjas has written it, overcoming a few objections, and then the second half of this afternoon will be outbound phone calls, follow-up prospecting techniques, and objections that we'll find, when making those phone calls. So that's just going to give you an idea how that works. What we're going to learn here is, why the phone is so important, some industry trends. I'm not only going to say, and Phone Ninjas doesn't train this way, we don't give you scripts and call guides to learn and use with customers on the phone, and say you do it because it works. We give you the theories and the psychology behind it. Some things I'm going to talk about how it affects the customer or the end user when we say things. It's going to go into a lot of left brain, right brain analysis, just to give you an idea on that. So techniques definitely will get results. So for those of you that like to put your own spin on things and definitely, please put your personality into it. But if you start changing the wording and rewriting, the whole thing, then you're not going to get the results that you're looking for and that we're trying to deliver. And of course, we're going to listen to a couple of real calls. We may even shop some of your competition if we have time around here, just depending on the clock, and see how your competition is handling the customer as well, okay? Now, I put this slide up here. This is actually called the first moment of truth, or as I like to say, the proper evolution of a customer. Now, if you're familiar with any type of first moment of truth or zero moment of truth, Google about 18 months ago did a white paper, which is a study on business and how customers decide to do business with a business, which is the zero moment of truth, which they go online. They go online, they research your reviews, they see what others are talking about you, they see what's going on the social platforms and how customers are talking about you, and then that's actually where they decide to make contact with you, which is the zero moment of truth. The first moment of truth is that contact that's being made, okay? How is that first interaction going to go between the customer and the place of business? And that is where they decide to move further into the process, which is the evolution of the customer. Now the first one there is the internet, obviously through email, internet inquiry. That is where we have the least control of the customer, especially if we don't have a phone number. Okay, we're going to, maybe a series of emails that go back and forth. Maybe you send an email, maybe you don't get a response for, 6 hours, maybe 2 days, maybe you don't get a response at all. So there really isn't a whole lot of control there with just that internet inquiry. But as we move into chat, do we have chat availability here? Dan, you guys use chat? As you go into chat, you have more control. You have that live conversation, so to speak, virtually. So you can use your techniques, your appointment setting techniques, your objection handling techniques to handle, the customer accordingly, and hopefully move them to if it doesn't go to an appointment at the chat, but hopefully move to a telephone call where ultimately you do have the most control without being in person with a customer. The telephone is one of the oldest sales tools around, but still today so ineffectively used. Okay, so that's why we're here, to hopefully give you some more tools to, progress yourselves, further. And then, of course, in person. That's where, obviously where they buy the car, and that's where we have the most control. So as you can see, the proper evolution of a customer. Now, I don't know if you see it this way or not, but it's kind of like I don't know if anybody care to admit it either. Have anybody ever done online dating? You don't have to raise your hand.
One judging.
There's somebody in here I know that's tried it. Okay. Anyway, this is kind of like online dating, and it's not in a bad way. For instance, if you're on one of the dating sites, Christian Singles or Mingles, Match.com, whatever those advertisements we see all day. But if you think about it, this is how it starts. You see somebody's profile, you see somebody sees your profile. But if you see a young man or a young lady that you'd like to get in touch with, and you send them an email and say something derogatory and very abrasive, you're probably not getting a response at all. If you get a response, it's not going to be nice. But if you take your time to learn about that person, okay, what their interests are, what they're looking for, okay, and then send a nice email that's well written, touching on some of the things that they're talking about, you might get a response, okay? And then from there, maybe you can move to a chat session where you're talking, virtually live, learn more about each other. And maybe that young lady or that young man will eventually give you their phone number where you guys can talk on the telephone, which can lead to in person, the date. Okay, so essentially we're dating our customers, and it's actually how we handle them throughout this entire evolution process. Does that make any sense? Okay, does that make sense to everybody? Kind of a nice little parallel. But we got some things working against us. We do. Okay, and that is this stereotype that the industry has. Okay, and I don't see it here. Okay. But I don't see it here. But believe it or not, the nation as a whole perceives us still as that used car salesperson with the gold chain or the smelly cologne or the cigar. They still see us this way, and it doesn't matter if we're attached to the sales, service, parts. If we're attached or any way involved with the dealership in general, this is what they think of, and it's still prevalent today. So to even drive that home even more, I was on a plane to San Jose early December, and I ran across this. It's a Gallup poll. It's a real article. It's a real Gallup poll, and it's that Congress ranks second lowest in honesty rating, beating only car salespeople. We're actually lower than politicians, according to this poll, a Gallup poll. So pretty significant there. So that just drives home, as of December, that the customers are still thinking of us this way. So there's the two things that we have to overcome, and one of the things I like to talk about and just kind of leave with you when I go is how we handle these phone calls. You know, if you use the techniques and you stay transparent and genuine, we can make a little change and hopefully move this stereotype eventually out of the way as time goes on. So just wanted to touch on that, okay? So the intentions of a phone call, what we're going to look at here, okay? What's the purpose of an inbound sales call from a customer's perspective? What would it be, you think? Exactly. Get information. Now, from our perspective, or anybody taking a phone call, what is the intention there? Sell a car?
Set an appointment.
Sell the appointment, exactly. Set the appointment. So that's really all it is. They call to get information, and it's our job to sell the appointment. Okay, and hopefully we can handle ourselves accordingly to make that happen. Now, as we open our books, you can start on page 4, and I'm going to go over a few industry facts. Does everybody good? A few industry facts we're going to go through and talk about briefly to start this foundation. Because what we're doing, we're going to build, we're starting real broad, real general, building this strong foundation as we move up into a more specific, focus. So when you guys move into the call training, which I think we're talking about next week, the coaching, this is all going to be like, oh, this all makes sense. So it's not going to be throwing something on you and you have no idea what's going on. So we're building up here to a more focused approach. Okay, so let's look at this. What percentage of your phone traffic will buy between 3 to 5 days? Anybody want to take a guess? 70%? Anybody else?
35.
35? It's 80%. Okay, that number is high. So what that is saying, these customers that are calling, they are definitely serious. Okay, so take every phone opportunity serious. I don't wake up on a Saturday morning and tell my wife to go grab the laptop and let's look at some car dealerships and give them a call and jerk them around. You know what I mean? These guys are calling for a real reason. So hopefully we handle ourselves accordingly. Now, looking at this, what percentage of the customers will buy within 10 days? What do you think this is? First one's 80. Now, as the time goes farther out,
90.
No, everybody who thinks the number's higher? You think it's lower?
Lower.
You think it's higher? Excuse me. It is higher. It's 90%. Okay. The reason why, does anybody want to take a guess and tell me why that is? Why that number is higher?
They've gotten more information, gotten closer to the actual decision.
They've gotten more information. They're educating themselves. But how are they educating themselves?
Calling.
Calling more than one dealership, because maybe this one sucks, this one sucks, this one sucks. This one didn't handle them the right way. This one didn't handle them the right way. So they're making more contacts with more dealerships, finally to get to one that, and of course educating themselves along the way, to finally getting to one that's handling that phone call correctly, where they actually feel okay to move further. Okay, so that's the reason why. Okay, so phone calls aren't being handled correctly, and that's why the number's higher over a longer period of time. What's the percentage of customers calling in to a dealership before coming in? What do you think that number is? 60? It's up there. It's real high, guys. 76%. 76%. And what this is saying, okay, that's a lot of people. 3 out of 4 people calling the dealership. But what's happening is many customers aren't getting their information taken down. Many sales professionals aren't selling their information to the customer, saying a solid appointment. And so this phone up, which is a real phone up, doesn't get handled the right way. Nothing gets logged, and this customer still shows up to the dealership, which then turns it into what? just a fresh floor up, when essentially it really was a phone up maybe 4 hours ago or a day ago. So we can get better at that. Okay, what percentage of customers will visit the internet before coming in the dealership? It's a definitely high number. I take all of my stats from J.D. Power and Polk, and as of December, with their last quarterly report, was 85%. I think it's higher, just because of being with the digital side of everything for a number of years. But that's according to J.D. Power and Polk study. What percentage of appointments will purchase a vehicle at the time of their first appointment, or the time of their first show?
67.
Huh?
67.
67%. Anybody else want to take a guess?
Pretty specific.
30?
54.
54? Okay. You guys are all very close there. It's 50% or greater if they ask for you by name. Okay? So there's a couple of things there. If you want to sell 1 car per day, how many appointments do you need? To the show, right? Okay, but also they need to, ask for you rather than just run into you when they show up. So if they ask for you by name, that percentage is much higher. All right, now what percentage of your customers? We're still on page 4. What percentage of your customers will purchase something different in which they originally inquired on? This might blow your mind. There's 2 sides of this that I want to talk about once we get there.
76.
76? 86%. 86% of your customers that are in front of you in the dealership will buy something different than they actually inquired on. Now, with that being said, that number, you can't do this to 86% of your customers over the telephone, okay? That just won't happen. They have to be here in person, okay? So our intention to switch somebody isn't our intention on the phone, okay? Or even maybe our intention isn't to switch them even in person, but they, many do buy something different. Now, on the other side of that is, with that not being able to be done until they're here, it's not our job to get them here by any means, okay? That's what I wanted to talk about just for a moment. We got to stay true to our transparency. That just get them in syndrome, if you're familiar with that or heard it, hopefully you don't hear it, but just get them in is not the way you want to approach it, because then you got a whole other obstacle to handle before moving further in the purchase process once they arrive, which is what? That car wasn't here, or that pricing was, not accurate, whatever the case may be. We don't just get them in and then say we got control now and we're working accordingly, because you got already got a customer that isn't happy with you. And if they do buy a car or end up doing business with you, you're going to have a CSI issue too. Okay, they may not tell you. They may say, "Oh, great, great, great." They're going to remember, the tactic that you used to get them here, and they're going to, crash this on the survey. So please understand that's important. What percentage of salespeople will ask for the full name of the caller? This will 10%. Less than 25%. Now, I have done many mystery shops around the country, and the customer or the sales agents that are asking for the information, asking in a very weak way. First of all, like I like to say is any technique is better than no technique. But the who am I speaking with, or in case we get disconnected, what's the best number I can reach you at, which I'll get into about the phone number. But they ask in a weak way. Can I have your number? Or do you think you want to give me your name? Things like that, where I can always come back and always say, that's okay. I don't feel comfortable giving that out. So we're going to learn some techniques to actually get the customer's name and number in a way that they're going to want to give it to us. Okay. So less than 25%. What percentage of salespeople ask for the phone number? Again.
Same.
Huh?
Same.
Less than 15%. Okay, with that name and that phone number, again, very weak way, and then we're going to move into appointment here, a real quick stat. They definitely, ask in a weak way. Well, my name's Chris. I'll be here tonight. Just ask me when you get here. Or you think you might want to come in Friday. You think you might want to come in Saturday, or things like that. They just, in a real weak way, and that's definitely not going to get it done. So less than 15%. Now, moving into the sales, this is what I'm talking about, asking for the appointment. What percentage of salespeople will ask for the appointment?
3%.
3%? It's less than 15%. Right on the money. Right on the money. All right, how about asking qualifying questions? Now, when I say qualifying questions, I don't mean, where do you work, how much money do you make, how's your credit, those types of qualifying questions. I'm asking, looking for new or used, 5-speed or automatic, cloth or leather, sunroof, no sunroof, lighter shades or darker shades, and we'll get into that too. But what's the percentage that you think of that is?
20%.
18.
Less than 25%? Definitely less than 25%. Now, what percent of salespeople will have their information put in writing? Less than 5%. Again, my name's Chris. Just ask me when you get here. Or here's my name, here's my number. My name's Chris. My phone number is 757-289-1860. How many times have you been on the phone with somebody and said, yeah, I got it. Or made a haircut appointment and say, yeah, okay, and then hung up like, man, what time was that? What was their name? Customers are doing the same thing. They're airpinning it. Yeah, I got it. Yep, okay, yep. Then they hang up. And then there you go. Everything goes away. So less than 5% of the salespeople are actually having that done. And we're going to show you some ways to actually sell your information in an effective way, in a very strong way, okay? Salespeople will often provide customers with too much information. What's the percentage you think this is? Huh?
80%.
90%.
You guys think it's that high? Greater than 50% of the time, so yeah, you're probably right.
Hey,
But providing too much information. Now
line
again,
1, J. Rolfing,
as I go
line
through
1.
this training, and the more I talk about it, again, transparency, authenticity, you're showing you're genuine. Just honestly, just running a good business is the whole underlying thought process here. But the too much information, we definitely can still do that and still be along those lines. Too much information. Only divulge the information that your customers are looking for. Okay, that's no more, no less. But the too much information. Say I'm calling in on that 2010 Camry you have for sale in the paper, and many times say, oh, you mean the one with 85,000 miles? Or I'm calling about the 159 lease special that you have in the paper, and they say, oh, you mean the one you got to put $3,000 down? You're immediately just coming back with something they may have not asked yet. If they do. Did you have something?
Well, with the internet nowadays and everything on there, aren't customers calling in more informed now?
They're calling in very informed. And I know you guys are one price organization, so some of it may not pertain, in this way. But again, you can still provide too much information. So, like for instance, the mileage. Customers are calling in, like you said, with the, are very informed because of the internet. Okay, but there are a lot of dealerships out there that have price leader lease specials, price leader, for those that still do balloon payments, they're very low. Okay, they do require a significant amount down, or you got to jump through this hoop. You had to have bought 5 cars from that dealership prior to qualify for this. So there's a lot of things out there that are really still in a lot of gray area, and it's just it's happening still today in this business. And but it's creating interest, it's creating traffic, but again, it's creating upset customers once they come in. So again, try not to give out all the information, but just enough. Okay, and again, not to deceive anybody. We're providing too much information, though. What is the percentage that we can actually demotivate them? 50? 30% of the time, okay? Many times we do a bad job talking the customer out of an appointment than actually talking them into an appointment. So we're going to learn some techniques to just keep control and move forward. Now, I told you guys earlier, and some of you seem surprised, but you guys know that an appointment that shows up is going to close over 50% of the time, right? Now, with that being said, from the appointment, what do you think the national closing ratio is on the phone up itself?
20%.
16. So you guys think it's low, right? It is. You're right on the money. Less than 5%.
Wow.
Less than 5%, because And what is the reason for that? Anybody want to take a guess or tell me? Exactly. We're not handling the phone call correctly. We know when we handle the phone call correctly, when we set an appointment, they show up, 50% of them are going to buy. Okay, but 5% of the phone up itself are buying. So there's a big discrepancy there. So it just means that we're not handling the phone call correctly. All right. Now, to be successful, we got to listen. Listen to what the customer's telling us on the phone. Because many times they'll tell us, how to sell them on the appointment. Many times they'll tell us how to sell them on, a vehicle. And my boss, Jerry Tebow, just bought a new vehicle, and he was in a dealership with the Hendrick Group down in North Carolina, and called me. I think I was in Chicago. This was a couple weeks ago. He called me and just tell me about this little incident. I don't even want to call it an incident, just an interaction, so to speak. And I started thinking about it, so I decided to add this just to not make it funny, because it's not my approach here. I just want to let you know how the brain works and how some can look at something one way and many can look at it another way. This gal came into the dealership and was looking for the 710 thing for her vehicle engine that was missing or cracked or something of that case. And the service advisor, had no idea what she was talking about. So she kept moving further, explaining even more about the 710. He asked her to draw it on a piece of paper. She drew a circle, said 710. And again, this isn't to be funny, but that's what she drew. That was the 710 thing right there. Okay. And yeah, that was a 710 thing, but that's exactly what she was looking for. And I've actually had people in other sessions of mine that looked at it and still looking at 710. Had no idea until I switched it over that it's an oil cap. Okay, it's the human brain. Again, it's a little comical, but not my intention by no means. It just shows that some customers can think of something one way, see something one way. And we do something like this every single day, take phone calls day in and day out, handle our business, just like second nature. But they only do this and interact with the group, not very often, maybe every 3 to 4 years. So we need to understand, when they're asking us questions, when they're talking about something, when they're looking for an answer, we need to, think. Just stop for a moment and think. Why is this important to them? Why are they asking me this? What type of answer would they like to hear from me? How can I, approach this the right way? So just keep that in mind. Give some answers here real quick. We're going to go over to moving on to page 5. Okay, we're going to go over why do customers call. Okay, what motivates a customer? How the phone up is different than a walk-in customer. What our goals are when taking the phone up. Okay. And what tools do we have when taking a phone up versus the in-person interaction? Okay, there's 5 aspects when we're in person, and then when we move to the phone, there's only 2. So really, you're only working with 35% of your full ability. So we're going to go into that just for a moment here, okay? Why do customers call? Okay, you want to talk about that? Give me some reasons why customers call.
Information. Do you have
information?
What's this called?
Do
you have, what's the price?
Pricing, availability, somebody said availability, what else? Location.
All available sales.
Business hours.
Please, all
What
available
else?
sales to the sales desk, please.
Anybody else want to take a guess? Service. How about this? Rule you out. It's not written anywhere in your book. How about that, though? What do you think about that? You don't like it? Do you think it happens? Yeah, happens all the time, right? They're looking for a reason not to do business with us. Remember, we're those lower than politicians. We're that guy in that picture with the cigar and the gold chains. So they're looking for a reason not to come here, because if they know they come here, something bad could happen according to their mindset. Okay, so they're just calling to rule us out so they can move on to the next one that makes them feel better. How about this? Fear. Fear. Remember them with the pushy salespeople. So a fear can play a big part in it, right? That's why they call to rule us out. What else do you think it is? Testing the waters. I live in Virginia Beach, and my oldest daughter, she's 12, and she's big into the the East Coast surfing circuit for her age group. So she's always in the water surfing year round. And there it's cold. It's not as cold as it is here. Okay, this is cold, but it's cold. Probably water's maybe 54 degrees, something like that. But she's got me there when I'm home, surfing with her. And whether we got wetsuits on or not, I still go to to where the water is and put my foot in and see if it's okay to get in. She gets in regardless. I don't know how she does it, but if it's too cold for me, I'm going to back away and I'll just go sit on the beach and let her ride. If not, I'll go in. But that's testing the waters. The customer calls you, and depending on how that water feels to them, that water, if it's warm and inviting, they may continue on with the phone call. But if it's not, they're going to back away and probably go into some shutdown modes and give you some objections that we hear, so very often. So just going to touch on that real quick. We're getting the same objections over and over again. It's probably something that we're doing on the telephone that's, forcing the customer to go that route and shut down and say, you know what, I really don't like how this phone call is going. Just give me the best price or whatever the case may be. So that's just giving you an idea right there, okay? Checking availability, obviously, like you guys talked about. Blue one, red one, V6 or automatic, anything. It's pretty self-explanatory there. Looking for deals, any lease specials, any new interest rates going on, any loyalty programs, any lease pull-ahead programs, things of that nature. Comparing brands, Ford over Chevy, Honda over Toyota, Nissan over Kia, just like that. Price shopping, again, price shopping is certainly big. And I know you guys really don't have to worry about this, very often because it's already there. That takes a big chunk out of what you have to worry about. But there are other dealerships out there, and I'm talking about price shopping, meaning the best price. We coach about 5,000 plus phone calls a month, which we'll be coaching a few of yours too as we move further. And I have salespeople in other dealerships in other states tell me that they get customers saying best price, just give me the best price, just give me the best price. And I told them, it's something probably that you're doing on the phone that's forcing them in that direction, okay? Because on 5,000 calls that we listen to a month, phone ninjas, I had a piece of software. I had my engineers, put a little checkbox in the software that my coaches use. I got 40 coaches nationwide, virtually. I mean, they're real, but they're nationwide. And I had this little checkbox that says the best price objection. So if the customer says, just give me your best price, I have the coaches click this little box, which goes into a report that I pull from the end of the month. So on a national level right now, on 5,000 plus calls, it's a little under 8%. Okay, so those that say that the customer just wants best price, that's not really the case. It's something they're doing to push them in that direction, because under 8% is not a lot at all. And it's expected. There will be some. Okay? And then, of course, gathering information. Okay? Gathering information. And then the last one I like to put here, interviewing you in the dealership. This is your time to shine. As we move further, I want to, really stress on how we set the bar extremely high with that first initial greeting with the phone call. Okay? There's no other time, there will be no other opportunity to redo this. Okay? It's kind of like, remember when we first started selling cars, your manager said, it all starts with a meet and greet, right? It's the same thing here. Okay? This phone call is how we really set the bar extremely high and actually creates a receptive customer if we do it the right way. Okay? So definitely start thinking about that as we move forward. Value, okay? Value is, before we move into this, customers are looking for value. And I think as an industry as a whole, we're becoming a price commoditized industry and moving away from building the value that we learned to when we first started selling cars, in the walk around. And it's unfortunate, but there is a number out there, whether you're a one price store or not, there is a number out there that customers will pay more if the sales representative did a better job at building value. And on a national average right now, it's probably somewhere about $400. But that's $400 on a vehicle as long as you've done your job the right way, versus concentrate on price, and the car goes away. It just becomes a commodity, so to speak. So think about that. Let's actually attack this a different way. And let's say we're all in the market for a TV, And we don't just walk into Best Buy and see the coolest TV up there and say, I'll take that one right there. I don't think anybody in here would do that, would you? Okay. What customers are doing, what I would do, I'd first try to decide, what kind of TV am I looking for? Am I looking for an LED, plasma, 3D, whatever the type of TV I'm looking for, I'm going to start there. And then I'm going to look at brands. I'm going to research online and see what brands are better than the others according to some of the reviews and the ratings. And then from there, I'll go to pricing, okay, and then decide, who's really giving some decent deals on that TV. And then maybe from there, I'll go to Best Buy and see it in person, okay. That's exactly what's happening with our customer, okay, and they're learning the value on their own, but then the pricing becomes the number one point. So, are they buying the right product? Is definitely one of their concerns. Does it have everything that they're looking for, okay, in a vehicle? And this is where your job comes in as sales professional, because they can see written text on a website, they can see, videos, reviews about certain features on a car, but unless you show that to them in person and really tell them, how it will affect them, they're not going to see the true value in it. And this right here, I put up here, I call this SPACE: safety, performance, appearance, comfort, dependability, and economy. Okay, those 6 things right there, those 6 aspects, or those 6 categories are what can build value with the customer. And again, it goes to Car Sales 101. Looking at those, obviously you're not going to touch on all these when you're presenting your vehicle. Okay? You're going to find out with your questioning, what's important. Then you're going to touch on those and really expand on them. And that's where the value is going to come in. So value is definitely something that we're not moving forward with like we should. Does that make any sense? Anybody have any questions on that? No? Okay. And price. Now moving to price. And that little, we're actually moving on to page 7, so I see some of you trying to write a lot of this down. But that was your value section right there on page 7. Okay, good. Now moving towards the bottom, price. They get the best possible deal. They don't want to pay too much, okay, but they still want to have that feeling of value being built. What will the customer focus on first? Okay, will the customer focus on if you meet and greet or talk on the telephone and you originally start talking about, yeah, we got the best deals, we got the best deals, we got the best pricing. If we make that approach, if we start our post that way, what's the customer going to continue to focus on? Price, 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 price. And the vehicle, again, just becomes a commodity. So we need to build value, within ourselves, within our organization, and with the vehicle itself. And then you won't have this big concern on price. Although you guys, really don't have to worry about that, but you still can overcome some objections regarding that, if that makes sense. Now looking at this, we're going to look at 5 behavior cues of floor-ups. This is in person, okay? We've got words, tones, gestures, postures, and facial expressions, okay? Words and tones, definitely play a big role in person and on the telephone, okay? And we're going to concentrate on those words and tones more and more as we go through the day. But words and tones are huge, okay? The bottom 3, gestures, posture, and facial expressions, as sales professionals, those of you being able to read these and understand these and study these will make you really, really effective if you can expand your knowledge on understanding gestures, postures, and facial expressions. And there's a lot of techniques out there to help combat some of these things when you see a customer doing one or the other or a combination. So if I was a customer on the lot and I'm talking to you, or maybe not even engaged with you that well, but I have my arms crossed, and you're talking to me, you're trying to tell me this, and I'm looking down, I have my arms crossed. What's that telling you?
No.
Defensive? I'm closed off to you, not really receptive. Yeah, exactly, right? So what I'd like to suggest, and what I want you to try next time you have a customer, and this is just, if you want to call it the crossing arms technique, we'll talk about more body language here shortly, but I want you to mimic, whatever the customer's doing, I want you to try to mimic them in person, okay? So if I'm, the customer and I'm crossing my arms, I want you to make eye contact with them, and you also cross your arms too, okay? Same way they're doing it. Let them see you do it, okay? But maybe 15, 20 seconds later, just stop for a minute and just, let your guard down in front of them. and let them see that. And tell me that they won't mimic you. They'll definitely let it down. That definitely helps open them up. And it's just part of communication that goes way back to, you know, the caveman days, the Flintstones, or whatever you want to talk about. Whenever, I guess, words weren't spoken, there was a lot of body language. So gestures, postures, and facial expressions are very, very old, and how we really communicated for many, many years. But looking at this is 60 to 70% of your communication skill set. 60 to 70%. So with that being said, we take you off the floor and we put you on a telephone, and you're only dealing with 30-35% of your full ability, which makes things a little tough. We're actually tying your hands behind your back, so to speak. Okay? So let's just go a little bit forward there and look at the two behavior cues on phonetics, which we have words and tones. Okay? Words and tones. This is how we communicate. I told you about the crossing arms technique. And now we have words and tones on the telephone. Okay, and this is how we set the bar extremely high. Like when a customer calls in and talks about a certain vehicle, rather than saying, yeah, that's a nice vehicle, or great choice. That's a great choice. Whatever you say, we can be better at it. And when you see the phone guys from Phone Ninjas, it's going to talk about, that's a really nice car, okay? And this is where we get our voice tones and inflections really high, which is how we set the bar. You may sound silly to yourself, okay? You may sound silly to, hopefully you don't sound silly to your coworkers, because if they're laughing at you, they're not really on board. But try to raise that bar as high as possible when you answer that phone call, okay? That's a really nice car, okay? We've actually had a few calls on that array today. That's part of the scripts as we get into. But that's where we set the bar that high. Okay, we need to be really convincing with our words and tones. Now, what we're talking about here is a lot of left brain, right brain stuff. Okay, your left brain individuals are analytic in thought, logic, language, science, and math. Now, I know you guys have a little bit different setup here, but these individuals that are more left brain tend, that's not exclusive, but tend to make a better BDC reps, okay? They're the ones that, like the internet leads. They like just the phone call. That face-to-face interaction really doesn't make them that comfortable. Now, on the other side, the sales rep, in person, holistic thought, intuition, creativity, art and music, they tend to make better sales reps, sales professionals, okay? Some of them have a real lively personality, real animated. But you can beat both, okay? But in my stores that I had, I can think off the top of my head of a few. If I told a few BDC reps that I had, I said, hey, I'm going to take you guys out of here, and you guys are going to be on the floor next week. And they would have flipped out on me. Like, what are you talking about? I got internet leads, I got phone calls. I can't do that. But I also have sales reps that I know of too, and I say, I'm going to take you off the floor next week and put you in the BDC internet department. You guys are going to take calls and handle internet leads all week. They flipped out on me too. Okay? But you can beat both. It's just how, in general, the left brain and right brain thought process goes. Now, looking at this real quick, this is actually an optical illusion, okay? I don't know which way it's spinning according to this, but your brain is going to see it moving counterclockwise or clockwise, one or the other. Anybody see it moving counterclockwise? Counterclockwise, 1, 2, 3. How many see it moving clockwise? Well, I didn't mean to.
Well, now I do now.
I didn't move it, but your brain is looking at it one way or the other. Somebody see it moving both ways. Anybody see it switch?
Yeah.
And again, I'm not doing it. That's your brain doing it. Which means, you're equally balanced between both hemispheres. Anybody see it switch yet? Yeah? Okay. If you look at the bottom here, it's kind of fun. We can stare at it all day and try to see what is what. But if you look at the bottom here, hemispheric dominance test, if you want to Google that, you can write that in your book. It's not in your book. To see what type of right brain, left brain person you are, there's a lot of little tests, puzzles, and ways to determine, how your brain is actually working. Many of you may be equally balanced and see a lot of similarities between both sides. So just something little to think about how you think and how others can think. But hemispheric dominance test. Now, when I was talking about the crossing arms technique, and again, I'm not here to push this book. It's a book that I own myself. It's about 60, 70 pages though. It's by Barbara Pease and Alan Pease. It's called Body Language. And it's something I read once a year, whether I want to or not, because it does, give you a lot of ideas on how to deal with, humans in person and visually. And you can definitely learn quite a bit about how to do that. Plus, it helps you with the opposite sex. For those that are married and have girlfriends and husbands and boyfriends, you can tell a little bit more on what's going on with it in person, okay? But it's a good book. It might even be on Amazon for probably $6 or $7. But definitely something that's good to read, okay? Now, excuse me, going into phone-up goals. Phone-up goals, just like anything, if you have a goal, you have to have objectives for that goal, and to get to those objectives, you have to have tactics, okay? So our phone-up goal is to set the appointment or sell the appointment, okay? Nothing more, okay? In that category, we have to, we do sell ourselves, we sell the value of the dealership, all of that, but it all entails, selling the appointment, okay? Overcoming objections, okay? That's the number one thing that we'll have to do to get to this goal, okay? You're going to get them, okay? Overcoming objections. Sell your info, we're going to do. Get the name and phone number the right way, an effective way. Get appointment to show, obviously, because, we can't sell them unless they show up. And then to do that, we're going to start with this, okay? The proper greeting. It's that important. It's not extensive. It's not very elaborate. It's nothing fancy. It's just the way we do it. And you'll hear it, and we'll talk about it more here in just a moment. Display professionalism. Everybody see that? I'm sorry. Maintain control of the phone call. When I say maintain control of the phone call, I'm not saying, this is where we control the customer. We strong arm them to pull them this way or pull them that way and make them do what we want them to do. They're still human beings. They're still willing to do business with us, so we're going to treat them the right way. But we're going to handle the phone call appropriately and maintain control so we can guide them or lead them in the direction we want to go, which is ultimately have them show up. So maintain control. Develop rapport is another big one. Establish credibility. Okay, we have to do that, obviously. And then proper greeting again. I put that up there twice because it is that important. Okay, it is that important. So our tools that we have when doing that are words and phrases. Okay, tones, attitude. Believing, we're going to start on page 10 here in just a second. Words, phrases, tones, attitude, and believing, okay? Now, as we go through this training, you're going to see and hear a lot of questioning and a lot of dialogue. It's in an A and B format, okay? It's giving them two choices versus, leaving it open and hopefully, them giving us the answer. But it's A and B format. So, if I go home this weekend, I'm going to be home, Friday night, late. But Saturday, if I wake up in the morning or whenever it is during the day, and I've talked to my wife and I said, hey, let's go to dinner. Where do you want to go to dinner tonight? I can probably tell you all right now in about 20 minutes we'll be arguing on where we're going to go to dinner because nobody can decide. Now, you tell me. You tell me. I don't care. You've all probably been there. But if I wake up and I say, hey, let's go to dinner tonight. Would you like to go to, Outback or, Olive Garden, something like that. Give it two choices. It's going to make it a little bit easier for that conversation to go forward, okay? Just because I'm not leaving it so open. Maybe she'll pick, or maybe we'll have to give two more options. But at least the A and B option, that A and B format moving forward, is how we want to present our product to them. So, words and phrases. Words and phrases, for instance, like, can I get your phone number? Or what is your phone number? Or, just real general, real dull, type words and phrases. We got to get better at that, okay? But when we're asking, the phone number, like, in a way that we're teaching you here with the scripts, are you calling from home or work? And that number is, okay? That's the way we ask the phone number. Are you calling from home or work? And that number is, okay? Or versus going to, what is your name? when you ask somebody what their name is, some might say Chris, or some might say, I'm not real comfortable giving that to you. But if you ask in a way like, how do I spell your last name correctly? And your first name is, okay? How do I spell your last name correctly? And your first name is. When you ask somebody to spell their last name for you, believe it or not, everybody loves their last name. For whatever reason it is, they love it, and they will spell it for you when you ask them. Even the SMITHs will spell it for you, okay? Say, oh, it's not with the E then? You know what I mean? So they'll definitely be happy to spell that and then tell you their first name. So how do I spell your last name correctly? And your first name is. Also, do you think you might want to come in? Or will you be available this evening as far as words and phrases? Do you want to come in Saturday? Do you want to come in tonight? We say things like, would morning or afternoon be better for you? Or would you like to come in Friday or Saturday? We give them two choices, A and B format, and we'll show that to you here in just a minute. Will it be better for you to come in later today or tomorrow? Give them choices. Don't give them a reason to.
Thank you.
Threw me off. Excuse me. You got me. Words and phrases. When would be a better time for you to come in, today or tomorrow? Now or later today, morning or afternoon. Again, A and B format, move it all the way through. Tones, tones play a key role, as I said before. That's a really nice car. Or we've actually had a few calls on that already today. But tones like that, setting it that high, is what we need to do. And don't be afraid to do it. Step out there. Maybe some of your comfort zones may not, allow you to go that far, but you're going to have to step out there and do it, because it's only going to make you better. It's only going to allow you to sell more appointments. And again, setting that bar extremely high with the client. Okay? So words and phrases, tones. That's a really nice car. Let me ask you something here real quick. When you're on the phone with somebody, you're imagining some things are going through your head, but when a customer's with you on the phone, what do you think they're imagining when they're talking to you? Or even you talking to them? There's three common things that are going on here. Let's see if we can.
What they look like.
Perfect. Number one, what they look like. That's exactly what the customer's thinking for you when you're on the phone. What they look like. What else? Old. Could be. I can go with looks, old, age. Not old age, but looks and age.
The old guy.
That didn't go right, did it? What else? Let's move on.
Maybe what your position is there.
It could be. How about what we're doing? You ever talk to somebody and try to realize what they're doing on the phone, or imagine what they're doing on the phone?
Sometimes I don't want to know.
So you, that way too. But that's what you look like is what the customer's imagining on the phone. Number one, what you're doing, this is going to play a big role down the road when we're closing on an appointment. So keep that in mind. And what's the third one? Third one. Huh? Can you trust them? That is good. You can definitely add that to them. But how about the vehicle that we're discussing? Okay. Do you think that's probably one of them? And painting this mental picture that we do on the phone with the customers, what we're going to concentrate on and really drive home this appointment, because they're thinking of, what we look like, what we're doing, and then of course the vehicle we're talking about. So when we say, oh yeah, that's, that car's got 85,000 miles, which would be motivating, we're talking them out of the appointment, or we say that's a really nice car. Or we'll go into even further when we're talking about their trade, should we have to talk about it on the phone, to where we can play that up too and act very excited and show them, create that mental picture on how we want to have their trade to here so we can look at it. So again, your looks, what you're doing, and the product you're discussing. How about attitude? Does attitude play a key role?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. What do you think? How important is your attitude every single day? Pretty serious, right? It's definitely serious. So that attitude you have to really, really concentrate on, and hopefully you're in the right frame of mind to have that right attitude when taking a phone call. But when doing anything engaged in business, okay? We've heard our management say, you got problems, please, don't bring your problems to work. It's true. It's easier said than done, but, I say the same thing. If you got problems, please, leave them at home. because I promise you they'll be there when you get back. Okay, come to work. Let's handle what we need to do, and then hopefully work on those problems later. So attitude is definitely key. There's a question though, as salespeople, that we ask a customer that we immediately kill our attitude, just like that. What is that question that they give us? One question. Hear it all the time. It's probably already said today in this store. Has anybody ever said or heard anybody else say, how soon are you looking to buy a car? Or what are you thinking about purchasing? Things like that, those kind of questions. The customer says, oh, 3 months from now, 6 months from now. Okay? Is that an attitude killer? Huh? A little bit? It can be. I've seen salespeople, seasoned salespeople say, oh, 6 months? Okay, it's not my turn. You know, let me go get this new guy. You know, it's his turn, his up. For those that run the up wheel, so to speak. But yeah, that's the attitude killer. But really, it's not the customer's job to tell us when they're going to buy a car. It's our job to tell them why now is a good time to buy a car, right? And that's how we move forward. We're salespeople. So attitude. Be positive. Be prepared. We're going to talk about that more. But positivity, just gotta boom. It's showtime. Once that phone rings, you know, it's a great day at. I don't remember where I'm at. Anderson Ford. I won't forget again. I may stumble one more time. That's my one strike. Number 2. One more time to 3. I'll get it. Anderson Ford. I got it. It's a great day at Anderson Ford. This is Chris. I'm gonna help you. Okay, so that's our greeting, which we'll go into here just shortly. But you have to be excited. Those words and tones are definitely key. Be prepared. Be positive. Okay. There's a quote here on page 11 that I really like, and it's very long. As you can see, but there's one section at the very bottom, and it says, I'm convinced that life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it. So keeping that in mind, it's huge. You know, 10% what happens and 90% how I react to it, which is definitely your attitude. So if you can control that and keep that mindset and be positive, you're going to have more success in your everyday business. So just keep that in mind. Moving on just a little bit more, obviously stay away from the negative salespeople. It doesn't look like you guys have any of that issue going on. The little cancerous group, that hangs out and smokes and talks about how bad this business is and how their month sucks and, nobody wants to help them sell them a car. I hope it doesn't happen here, does it?
Why the bad guys got to be smoking?
Huh?
Why the bad guys got to be smokers?
You tell me.
I just said, I'm not knocking smoking. You guys, do your own thing there. But I'm saying that, when that group is outside, you've all seen it. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't, but they do exist. Whether you're out there drinking a Coke, smoking a cigarette, it doesn't matter. If somebody's in that group talking about how bad this day is or how bad this dealership sucks and how bad their month sucks and whatever. So stay away from the negative side of things. There's nothing positive that will come out of that. Definitely won't make your attitude any better. So nothing you need to listen to. Just stay away from it. Now we'll get to just real quick what you can expect as we move forward. We've covered a little bit of stats and things like that. But moving forward on 100 phone ups, you can expect to get 90 to 95% names and phone numbers with the techniques that we're going to show you today. Okay. With that, that's 50 to 80% appointment ratio. Right now, nationally, the national closing ratio or national appointing ratio is somewhere under 30%. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, but I see other people looking. Are we on a page or?
No, that's going to be later in your book. Don't worry about that. I'm sorry. Yeah, it'll be later in your book, but I'm just going to go right now with you. Which is 58% appointment ratio. That's a high appointment ratio, okay? And if you're appointing your customers at that high of a rate right now, then, great job. But we're going to get you there. We can definitely get you there with the techniques, which is 50 to 80% appointments, 50 to 80 appointments, and a 50 to 80% show ratio, depending on how well you really did handle that call. At least 50, and then of course half of those are going to buy. But 25 to 64 customers keep their appointment, 50% close ratio, which is 12 to 32 sales on 100 phone calls, 100 phone ups. Okay, the 12 at the very low end of the spectrum, and then of course 32. As long as you did everything you needed to do, because it works. All right. Any questions on that, or any concerns? Okay. Now what we're going to do then is get right into the 7 steps of the phone up, and we're going to break down each section. But we're going to take a break and let you guys stretch your legs and smoke some.
15 minutes, or yeah. So at let's say 10:20.
10:20.
Be back up here at 10:20. Grand Island guys, sure someone from Lincoln will show you where you're smoking, and it's back behind the building.
Just the negative crowd go up.
Yeah, you could also walk out the back down the fire escape, and down the back door there's smoking out there too.
Is that good then? Or?
I don't know. You didn't call back. Who'd you?
I know that
Did you talk
said,
literally?
No, I left him a voicemail last night because he didn't answer his phone.
Well, go down on your when you're smoking. Go call Letterly. Make sure. I sent Troy a text. I didn't hear back.
I just wanted to make sure somebody's driving it back because we never heard from Ray last night if it actually got sold. Or...
Hey Corey, would you and Josh follow up on that Explorer that's at the South Store? Make sure that something's happening where that needs to get down or whatever.
Thanks, Corey.
Team player. You don't need
Team
to
player,
jump
that's
up
right.
ladder. You can come right to me.
I did earlier.
No, you didn't. We were starting class too.
I get one.
I get about sick of that. I think you're right.
Red one.
I like a green one.
It's good. Except for Corey, he's trouble.
Can't help it. The pit bull jumps the ladder every day.
Oh, yeah.
That's him in the corner.
Josh, can you call the Lincoln South Store and get the Explorer that Joseph has an appointment on at 3 o'clock today? Yeah, Ray knows what it's about. Just call Ray and ask him because Ray says that it's available. He said he didn't have it sold, so we just need to send a driver to go pick it up at the South Store because
Is it? I don't see a lot. Every once in a while I'll be in a dealership and there's a one. You just see somewhere there's like, oh God, this is the most horrible thing in the world. I had a lady in Philadelphia. It was just the worst thing to see her. I think she was on some type of Xanax or something too. It was just really strange.
the tractor.
Yeah.
I had a guy like that. We did a sales program in Grand Island, brand new guys from San Francisco. He was the vice president of national sales for this huge travel.
Yeah.
So it was just beneath him to even be there.
Really?
It was just, the whole time he was,
Really?
Yeah, and we were gonna let him go because he was so negative. He ended up, I can't work more than 40 hours. So
Yeah. He definitely wasn't on board then.
no.
Oh yeah, okay. Gotcha. All right, sounds good.
Yeah.
I found something on the check last night that pertains to you.
Oh yeah?
And Haley, we're going to add it to you.
Junior said he can't do it today because he's got something to do. So I don't know who we can send to do it.
What's that?
Because I would love to go and grab it for you and just bring it back. But
So that
Good.
would be,
We're gonna get into that thought process here.
all right, yeah. Sorry about
about
that.
attitude.
I'm just-
That's a huge thing for me.
All right, bye.
That's one of my favorite quotes from him, and I saw it on there last night. I was like, I'm going to have to get a picture of that.
I like that. Is it always this cold here?
No, but we're definitely getting it now.
Yeah, wow. Amazing.
Yeah. Goes from -20 to 120.
So you get hot in the summer? Yeah.
Yep.
worry about it. I didn't know there was gonna be snakes.
I learned that when I worked for Fire Spring. Anytime you go into any training or something like that, they put candy down on the table, and there'd be little toys like bouncy balls and squishy things and little Rubik's cubes and things like. And I used to think, oh my gosh, that's the dumbest thing ever, because people would be distracted, but it totally worked because so many. Everybody's ADD a little bit, I think, anymore. And they'd have that little toy in their hand and they'd be playing with it, but they'd be watching, but there was something, they were fidgeting. And it's like kids in my son's class now, they're all on exercise balls. So the ones that just can't sit still can sit there and just bounce. And they're watching the teacher, but they're moving around the whole time. Yeah, they all want exercise balls, they don't have chairs.
Boy.
That's a sign of AD. Having to doodle to pay attention is keeping the one side, keeping your. I can't remember because I have ADD.
Have you ever been in a meeting with Tony Franklin in St. Joe?
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's
Well,
constant.
Mitch doodles too, and I doodle.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look, and I've been spinning this thing on my pen the whole time because I just have to have something. In order to focus well, I have to have my hands doing something, and that's a common thing with
Hard candy is kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
I wish we had exercise balls.
We should do that. Mike, we're going to replace all that costume training with exercise balls.
Oh yeah,
They're-
that's a fun.
Someone would probably flip out and fall and
Right.
Well, I'd probably be the one to do that.
$170,000 claim again.
I'd go down with a heartbeat, brother.
But I think the South Store started. Have you guys been doing a little bit of the Visual Verde phone training? You guys started that last month.
Oh, more than a month, yeah. It's been,
Which
So
completely
you got-
sucks. But, no,
yeah,
kidding.
it's been.
So that, yeah, I think everybody.
I haven't looked at this stuff in quite some time.
And they just started offering it. I mean, it's not like
Really?
Yeah, they just added it as part of the online thing. Like when you guys are not looking at it, they just added that maybe 3 or 4 months ago to that whole online
Okay.
learning site.
Because I was gonna say we started like.
It's not bad. I mean, it's basically it's a lot of the same stuff.
I'm sure.
But in kind of that the Joe Reddick presenter. Right. Oh yeah, they're super high energy.
Yeah, Joe's a character.
They just don't. They just don't have the follow up monitoring type stuff.
Yeah, you guys are really
Give me my
like.
pen back.
That was a bad idea.
It'll walk off.
These are awesome.
Yeah, I had those made for NADA.
How was that idea?
It was good. Good for phone ninjas. Productive, kind of. And it was definitely busy. I worked it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, which was just last week, 8, 9, 10, 11, I think it was.
Huh? Did you have any increase from last year?
In attendance? I don't know what the attendance was. but it was- I know our booth was busy. I saw quite a bit of people there too.
That regular, that XLT?
Yeah.
You know, Million must have given my number to the auction. Because they're calling me about auction units and I don't know anything about them.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
Our auction units?
Uh-huh. Chevy Cruze, 2010 Ford, and one other one,
They're there now.
I guess.
Just call me. Call me in a
What?
Call Million quick and.
Okay. Yeah, quit it while I'm done. What idea.
Push my chair out there.
Who did that?
That man back there.
Darren.
Here.
How long have you been in Virginia?
Oh goodness. See, I was born in Texas. My dad's from Oklahoma, right in Norman. He was Army, so we lived all over the place. But I've been in Virginia Beach probably since 93, 94.
I got brother condos in it.
Is that right?
Yeah, they're in the Chesapeake.
Okay. Yeah, not far from you. Was he military or something?
No, no.
Hello.
Yeah, business there.
Okay.
Right near the Navy base there.
Okay.
Military highway.
Okay, yeah. I know that all there. I mean, it's a big area. It's a big market. Not a big market. I mean, it's about a 1.2 million market right now.
Yeah.
From an automotive perspective. Everything's so easy to get to. I mean, fast. I mean, 10 minutes to Norfolk, 10 minutes to Chesapeake, 10 minutes across the water. Actually, about 20 minutes across the water to Hampton. So it's all. Got it. Yeah. Okay.
It's like so that and show for 10 seconds.
Now you guys are in the brush.
Shoot off. You have to open it first. But that,
I'm trying to get out as quick as I can.
Wednesday, you might be stuck here for
I hope not.
extended stay.
I gotta be in Ohio. I gotta be in Columbus Thursday morning. I got a flight leave. Flight leave at 7:30. So from Lincoln.
yeah, you'll be good.
I mean from Omaha.
That's on 45 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Well, 45 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not sure that you can still have it when you go out to work.
Do you guys get that kind of snow a lot, or is that just...
We haven't the last couple of years.
I need to put my, microwave report on my phone.
That's a lot of snow.
I have my,
Falling asleep?
and I haven't
Buick that hit that tree.
32 games.
His son was in it. Brad's son.
Really?
Yeah, working on 10 years. The kid that was just in the 16.
Parking garage?
Yeah, he fell on the top floor. He fell down the
Parking garage? Where at? Blair, 24 years old. Yeah, parking garage. Let's see.
No, he hit 70 miles an hour.
What's up with the rain? It's rolled down the stairwell.
I'm sorry.
Mark that down. What's up with the random one? Inspirational quote. Yeah, he actually told me her name about that.
You got the obviously.
There's only one. I was, yeah, I was. We said Saturday night, and everybody went through every division, every award. We actually come to recommend in these spaces, every single thing.
There's that transition that I was talking about. I've never had to do that myself.
Both wild cards, Martian winner.
They hit a 70-foot oak tree.
So you got these two wild card spots, yeah.
Orioles, Yankees, and Rays.
Orioles?
Really good are finding throwing these
Pretty cool.
Yankees are old.
But they also got Mariano Rivera back again.
One bullshit.
Oh, hey, Manny Ramirez.
Just those one random thing. He's within arm's reach. It's perfectly acceptable.
Right. Yeah, because Nancy
The NLEs will be the ones driving.
All right, thanks, Rob.
Revamp. Oh, you see the brakes and repair and chippers?
Would not be all right.
They are. They announced it.
Yeah.
Like 19 years ago. I don't know. Yeah, you got the revamp brakes and
You guys ready?
Yep.
Hey, Curtis, would you get the door?
I'll get it.
Somebody might need to tweak the lights too.
They wanted this side on. Now it's
Aaron,
your turn.
switch it.
Now it's your turn to sleep.
Yeah.
You gotta stay awake.
Yeah.
It's harder to see the actual screen.
Oh, you'll be fine. We'll switch it after lunch again. You young guys can't see
They
it?
wanted it on. If you want them all on, you can, but it's kind of hard to see.
It's hard to see anyway.
All right, good to go.
All right, guys. Now here we are. We're back again. So we got a little foundation built up, and we're going to continue to build more going on the inbound phone call. And prior to me leaving, or when I leave, or actually I can do it tonight from the hotel room, I'll get a Dropbox account to Dan, so he can pull all the scripts, all the call guides, and you guys can have those moving forward. So it can certainly help you when we get into the phone coaching. Okay, so not just going to throw it on you and tell you, go set an appointment. So the 7 steps of the phone up we're going to get into. Initial rapport building. Okay, this is where we're going to do the meet and greet. Okay, very, very important. Qualifying techniques. Again, new, used. 5-speed automatic or 6-speed automatic, 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive. We're also going to do some qualifying techniques on, if they call it on a generic car, used or new, real broad. We want to figure out how to funnel in and kind of narrow down on what they're looking for. Or if they call it on something specific, we don't want to paint ourselves in the corner, so we want to broaden that, raise that elevation some to see if we can't get their thoughts moving on, maybe have the option to move on another vehicle. So that we're going to go there. And then selling the appointment, definitely. Trial close. Objection handling. Very self-explanatory there. Drive towards closure. Okay, this is where how we're going to lock down that appointment a little bit more. And then, of course, directions to the dealership. And there's some effective ways to do that aren't used as often as they should. So going into that. Initial rapport building. Okay. The greeting sets it all, as you can see up here. It sets the tone, for the remainder of the call, no doubt. Going into it further, if we set this, and again, it's right here, so you can see it's not that complicated. It's going to be very simple. But if we set it right the first time, it's really going to create a receptive customer moving throughout the rest of the phone call, and it definitely is going to help us set the appointment. So that attitude, that thought that you portray over the telephone is definitely going to be important. Have you ever called home and called your husband or your wife or your girlfriend or your boyfriend, and you knew immediately when they answered the phone what type of mood they were in? And just like that, you're like, oh man, that's the wrong time for me to call. Definitely. Even if I call after golfing 36 holes, I know exactly what type of mood she's going to be in. So that feeling or that thought that you get, you just know that phone call is not going to be any fun. Or that associate at Subway, or that associate at a place that you're getting ready to eat. It could be fast food. Bad attitude, just not having a good day, very rude to you. How does that make you feel? And you still stay there and get your sandwich made. But how does that make you feel? Most of the time. How does that make you feel? If they got a bad attitude, maybe they're not being rude to you, but you can tell that they're just not in tune. It's just not a good experience, not pleasant at all. But do you have Chick-fil-A here? No Chick-fil-A? Well, if you're ever on travel anywhere and you have the chance to eat at a Chick-fil-A, I think they're mostly in the southern areas of the United States. It's fast food. It's chicken sandwiches and French fries and Cokes. Fast food. A little bit higher price than Burger King or McDonald's, but definitely some good food. But they're associates, and of course, if you've seen one at lunchtime, the cars are wrapped around the building like twice. They have like 3 people outside taking orders before you even get to the order screen. The lines are out the door for people inside of and you've been there, right?
Oh yeah.
The lines are out the door inside of the restaurant. It's crazy. It's a madhouse. But you get to up to the counter, and you still have that young lady, that young man greet you, and say, welcome to Chick-fil-A, how may I help you, with a smile. And they can be slam busy. But they must go through a greeting training that may last 2 months because it's consistent every single time. And it just makes you feel good from being there, even after waiting, 20 minutes to get there. So that type of greeting, creates a receptive customer, and it's definitely a feeling that we all want to have, and you can definitely relay it in a very easy way. So looking at this, here's the greeting. It's a terrific day. Now, when I say terrific, it can be terrific, it can be beautiful, it can be wonderful, it can be any kind of day you want, just not, anything negative, crappy, whatever. It can be pouring down rain, or it can be like it's going to happen, I think. It can be dumping snow, all these inches of snow. They still call it. It can still be a beautiful day. It can still be a terrific day, okay? So it's a terrific day at Anderson Ford. This is Chris. How may I help you? Okay, and excuse my voice, but it's a terrific day. It's a wonderful day at Anderson Ford. This is Chris. How may I help you? Smile. Don't chew gum. Don't eat. Don't be doing anything else when taking that phone call. But it's a wonderful day at Anderson Ford. This is Chris. How may I help you? You got to stand up to open up your diaphragm. You can even do that too. But that's the greeting here. And I have 4 phone calls here that I've downloaded or I've captured from our call tracking services that we do when we coach in dealerships. And when my boss, Jerry, was in a dealership a day early, he took a few phone calls. And I just want to let you hear this greeting, his greetings, and they're real phone calls, to the customers and see how the customers react to them. If we can get customers to comment on our greeting, laugh with us, just get involved immediately that fast, then you're off to a good appointment. So this I don't know if it's going to play here or where, but.
No, do you want me to, I can maybe go grab a pair of speakers, unless we're running back through here.
Yeah, I just got these 4 here, but
There's a pair in the internet office, Dan.
Would you run down and get them quick? Well, is run a safe word for Ben? Go. Would you run down and get him?
Yeah. So while we're doing that, while he's doing that, let's talk about a few more things here. But definitely, if you look on page 15, like I said, this is time to set the bar extremely high, and I'll let you listen to these here momentarily. But the greeting is half the battle, okay? Definitely half the battle of setting the appointment. So when you are answering the phone call, this is Chris, or whatever your first name is. Avoid your last name, okay? There's no reason to give this last name right now because we don't want the customer to have to think about or remember so much in the beginning. There'll be plenty of time for us later in the call to sell our full information and our last name. So just avoid any last names when going there. So thank you for calling Anderson Ford. This is Chris. How may I help you? And then they can call on, say, I'm calling about that 2013 F-150. Oh, that's a really nice vehicle. We actually had a few calls on outright today. And that's how we validate their choice or what they're talking about. Oh, that's a really nice vehicle. We've actually had a few calls on outright today. So again, it's not extensive. It's very simple wording, and you'll see it as we go into the scripts itself, and you see them. But these are the vibes that we want to create. We want the customer to comment on our greeting. For instance, like this one, he said, "Wow, Jerry, it sounds like you've already sold 4 cars today." Just because of that initial "Thank you for calling Hamilton Chevrolet," where he was at. So, how long do you think he'll be?
I thought I heard him come up the stairs.
Okay. Yeah, I can. It's probably easy to do that, huh? Sure.
It's dangerous. When the deli's down there, it's dangerous.
Oh, I'll grab this. When you guys are answering the phone call here, let's just go around the room and talk about a few things. Again, don't have to be embarrassed or whatever. When you answer the phone call, how do you answer it? You, sir.
Thank you for calling Anderson Group. This is Joseph. How can I help you?
That's it. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong. Anybody else have any other greeting they use? Great day. Young lady?
Oh, I was being facetious.
What'd you say?
Sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Used cars.
Exactly. Used car sales. Hope that doesn't happen here.
What?
What's up?
And we'll hear some examples of that later on. But yeah, All right.
Ben, help me look that up.
I got it. Just real quick.
Who'd you steal those from?
Tim.
He's probably.
I was going to take Desiree's, but then I looked at the message they were all tangled in. I said,
Brian Lammers, you have a call holding on line 1. Brian Lammers, line 1.
There we go. Let's see if it worked. What do you say?
Thank you, bro.
Afternoon, it's a fabulous day here at Hamilton Chevrolet. This is Jerry. How may I help you?
What's happening, Jerry? Man, you must have sold forecast today, sounding that happy.
You know, I'm having a terrific day. How about yourself?
Oh, absolutely.
See there? Here's another one.
Stay here at Hamilton Chevrolet. This is Jerry. How may I help you? Yeah, great. It's fabulous here, too. Used cars, please.
See how the customers are just.
They start laughing.
Yeah. Here's another one.
It's a fabulous afternoon here at Hamilton Chevrolet. This is Jerry. How may I help you?
Used car sales.
I can help you, sir.
All right, maybe you can make my day more fabulous.
All righty. That's what I'm here for.
Well, we'll see. You have what I'm looking for.
All right.
But see, that's this gives you an idea just how this reading is that simple. It doesn't have to be fancy or anything invented. Just that simple. Just being a human being with the customer can really make it go a long way. So this is just some ideas right there on the greeting. Any questions on the greeting, or anybody Nothing on the greeting. Okay. So moving into qualifications. Again, I told you this wasn't the qualification types of how's your credit question type things. It's new or used, 5-speed automatic, and there's two types of qualifying when we look at it up here on the overhead. There's generic used car and generic used car, new car and used car. So when they call in on something generic, I mean they're wide open, saying I'm looking for a sedan, I'm looking for an SUV, or I'm looking for a four-wheel drive. That's pretty broad. So we have to get the right questioning in place to narrow down on a more specific vehicle. And then of course on the other side of that, when they call in on specific used car and new car, we're going to funnel out, okay? Which is meaning, we don't want to be stuck on one vehicle, okay? Even though they may have an interest in that, again, we know 86% of the time they're going to maybe purchase something different. So if we can elevate that a little bit, even just a little bit, we can give ourselves more options. So funneling in definitely allows you to take control. Shows interest in your needs. Okay, you may think these questions are just for our own benefit, but it actually affects the customer in a positive way. It shows that you have interest in what they're talking about, and what you can do as professionals. Shows interest, allows you to deflect questions you might not want to answer. Okay, we know there's some tough questions out there, and we don't want to get painted in a corner to not be able to get to the appointment. And of course, it's going to groom your customer and answer either or questions. Okay, so looking on page 16. New car and used car generic qualifying questions, they're things like, so that I better understand your needs. So when a customer calls in on something, I'm looking for an SUV, what you want to say is, so that I better understand your needs. So that I better understand your needs. Are you looking for two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive? Okay, cloth or leather? Lighter shades or darker shades? But when I talk about color, I don't say color, lighter colors, darker colors. Don't say colors. Don't say the word color, because if you say the word color, their brain is going to think of a color, and of course it's going to be the one that you don't have. Okay, so if you say shades, it kind of keeps it a little more generic in their mind, and can keep you from focusing on one particular color. So lighter shades or darker shades, and I always use that one at the very last of the qualifying questions. Okay, this. And then, of course, on specific, that's a really nice car, or that's a really nice SUV. We've actually had a few calls on that already today. Okay. Now let me ask you this: is it specifically an SUV that you're looking for? Is it specifically that 2010 F-150 that you're looking for, or would you be interested in others like it? Especially if I could save you some money and show you some other vehicles. Those are what you want to talk about. So that's how you're going to funnel out to see if they may have any interest in something other than what they call in on something specific. So funneling in generic type thing, let's just go outside the industry for a minute. And like I told you, when I took that article about the politicians, I was actually flying to San Jose. When I landed there, I landed on a Sunday, and got to the airport, got to the hotel, and I started feeling bad, getting sick. This was December. Felt the cold coming on, whatever it was. So I decided once I got to the hotel, I was going to go to a CVS. I actually went to a CVS pharmacy and was looking at the millions of things in the aisles, and looking for some cold medicine, long story short. And this lady comes out after I'm been looking for everything. You know, there's tons of stuff in there. So you find one thing, you're like, well, let me check one thing else. And I look, and I forgot what this piece was. So, you know, getting a little frustrated. So this lady comes out and says, can I help you? And I said, yeah, sure. I'm looking for some type of cold medicine. She goes, oh, okay. Just call me. She goes, you can get this, you can get this, you can get this, you can get this, you can get this. I was like, well, I just did that. I said, is there anybody else here that knows, you know, a little more about this that can help me out? She goes, well, the pharmacist is here. And I said, okay, can I speak with her or him? So the pharmacist comes out, nice lady, introduces herself, asked me my name, and she goes, so I better understand your needs. And it just kind of clicked. I was like, wait a minute, I train on this, you know, every single day. But she said that, so I better understand your needs. And so I said, she goes, do you have a cough? I said, yeah, I'm, you know, getting a cough. She goes, how about a runny nose? I said, yeah, definitely have one of those. She goes, what about a fever? And I said, well, I don't know if I have a fever, but I definitely feel bad. And she asked me a few more questions, and she goes, yeah, you might be getting a fever. And I said, she goes, do you want something to help you sleep at night? And I said, definitely. And I said, but I got to be alert during the daytime because I have, you know, training to do. And she goes, oh, okay. So she went and got and we all had it. We've all taken it. I could have found it myself if I could have seen it. The daytime, nighttime, orange and green DayQuil, NyQuil box. You know, it's got them both in it, which I could have done, definitely. But then she pulled that off the shelf, but gave me a little walk around on the daytime, nighttime medicine. Actually, I learned more about DayQuil and NyQuil this time, rather than just taking it because the commercial said to. But I actually learned, you know, quite a bit about what the DayQuil does and what the NyQuil does, which was kind of interesting. So, with that being said, though, and her questioning techniques and helping me, you know, narrow down, you know, how confident was I that I was spending $10 wisely with her on some medicine? Pretty confident, right? So I just tell that story because the same idea and the same focus goes into the car business. When customers are calling and we ask those effective questionings, narrow down, drill down, qualifying questions that make them feel the same way. That's exactly how it does make them feel. So please don't think that it's us just trying to go through a script and you know, get an idea what they're looking for, because it does actually have an effect on them in a positive way. Make sense? Any questions? No? Moving through then. Actually, on the qualifying techniques, I want to just show you this. I put this up here just to give you an idea for those that are in person, when you have that in-person customer, and it's just a little technique to maybe think about if you don't do it already. Excuse me. When a customer comes on the lot, and there are customers out there that still use a newspaper. There's still newspaper print. You guys do a lot of print?
No.
Not much at all, if any?
Nope.
Okay, well, if you do ever have a customer that comes on a lot, I guess I can't pertain this to you guys, but if you did have an ad, the customer said, hey, show me this, you know, 2003 Jeep Compass that you have in the paper. Take that paper from them and see what they have else they have circled. Open it up, because they may have a few other cars that you have circled that they're also interested in looking at, but also may have some other things circled that are at other dealerships, okay? And so when you see that, you can actually kind of match up, say, I have something similar to this, I may have something exactly like it, whatever the case may be, just to prevent them from going somewhere else, okay, and using all your options. So that's the only reason why I put that up there, okay? Obtaining contact information. Okay, give the customer, and this is moving on to page 18, okay? Now, what I like to say, and what I've said many times is, you know, any technique is better than no technique when trying to set an appointment. But the technique of, in case we get disconnected, or you call from home or work, or in case we get disconnected, what's the best number I can reach you at? The in case we get disconnected, close, if you want to call it that, is something that we want to stay away from, okay? Because I can get the customer going many different directions. For instance, saying, you know, if that happens, I'll call you back, or whatever the case may be. We just don't want to give the customer a reason to not move in the direction we want to. So in case we get disconnected, try to, you know, stay away from it and start looking at what we are working on here. So remember, obtaining contact information, as we talked about in the beginning, less than 25% of sales professionals that are on the telephone are actually getting that information from the customer. So with that being said, the effective way to get the contact information from the customer, definitely don't get the name too early. We want to give them a reason. When we give them a reason to give us their contact information, then that's going to let them do it. So that reason is actually called a value proposition statement. If you could look on your page 18 right there, in that third paragraph, okay, and it sounds like this. Great, let's do this. So I don't waste any of your time. Let me check to see what I have available now and also what's coming in the next few days. It should only take me about 10 minutes. All right, call from home or work, and that number is, how do I spell your last name correctly, and your first name is. That's it right there. That's getting the contact information from them, just like that. And that's doing that because we just gave them a value proposition statement, which is so that I don't waste any of your time. Okay, giving them that. Okay, we're now able to ask them for their information. Okay, no other really way to talk about it other than that. We give them this, boom, we want this. Okay, so that value proposition statement, but it needs to be asked in an assumptive manner questioning. Say, so that I don't waste any of your time. Okay. So let me check to see what we have available now and also what's coming in the next few days as well. It should only take me about 10 minutes, okay? That right there, it should only take me about 10 minutes is implying that we're going to hang up the phone, okay? But we're not going to do that. We're just implying. We never want to offline a customer, and we'll talk about that here in just a minute. But so that I don't waste any of your time, okay? Let me check to see what we have available now and also what's coming in the next few days as well. It should only take me about 10 minutes. All right, calling from home or work, and that number is, how to spell your last name correctly, and your first name is. That's how you get the contact information. It's used as a run-on sentence, as you can see there on page 18. So once you get their contact information, applying that we're going to put them on hold, which we're hanging up and call them back, which is called offlining, if you want to use a better term for it, offlining. We don't ever want to offline the customer because what can happen if we offline the customer? What do you think some of the things are that can happen?
Call somebody else.
Boom, they call somebody else while you are hung up and you're actually doing your job that you thought you're doing well to get them that information, but customers are impatient many times. Some other things that can happen are, let's see, what else can happen? We can take the number down wrong, right? For whatever reason. It could be busy. Anything can happen. You could get a customer could show up, that you wasn't expecting. Ready to buy a car, and your focus shifts to them. Get to call this customer back. Anything can happen. So we try to not offline the customer ever, and the call guides aren't geared that way. So once we get their name and phone number, we're going to move over to page 19. It says, oh, can I put you on hold for a moment? I just saw my manager walk by, and I should be able to get you that information for you right now. Or if you have a problem inherently by saying you just saw your manager, and he really didn't walk by, there's two things you can do. You can also say, oh, can I put you on hold for a moment? I just thought of something. I can probably get you that information right now. Or if you're okay with saying your manager, get a picture of your manager, or get a picture of Dan and put them on your computer screen and say, oh, I just saw my manager. You know what I mean? That way you're not lying. I just saw him. There he is. You know what I mean? That's for those of you that have trouble saying, I just saw my manager. Okay? So, again, like I said, we don't lie, but we don't deceive anybody. So we'll get pictures of Dan on all your desktops here shortly. Okay?
They already have mine.
Okay, and another thing is don't wait and ask for their information after you've given them everything, because then they have really no reason to, you've given them all the information, so what else, why they have to work for you? So again, it goes, oh, can I put you on hold for a moment? I just saw my manager walk by, and I could probably get that information for you right now. Or, can I put you on hold for a moment? I just thought of something. I can probably get you that information for you right now. Now, can I put you on hold for a minute? Can I put you on hold for a few seconds? It's none of that. It's, can I put you on hold for a moment? We use the word moment, okay? And definitely don't leave the customer on hold for too long. 15, 20 seconds. Nothing big. And really, when you put the customer on hold, you're just sitting there, okay? You don't have to do anything. You don't have to run, because we get into some other parts of the selling the appointment that it's not requiring us to do all that right now, okay? You don't need your computer screen up. You don't need your internet up. There's all, sometimes you may, but the majority of the time with the approach that we use, you're not going to need that. And actually, if it was up to me, once your phone rang, your computer would shut off. because I believe wholeheartedly that you can actually listen to the customer and listen to what they're talking about, use your skills, use your techniques, and sell an appointment effectively without even having any of that technology behind it. So just want to give you that little piece of information there, okay? And then we go into selling the appointment, section 4. Now, you guys will go through this bit by bit, piece by piece. It will all come together at the end amongst tons of other call guides that we're going to go through and cover in objections. But you're going to see once we take phone calls, we're not today, but once your phone calls start being coached, you're going to see how all this ties together and how it's graded accordingly. So selling the appointment, first thing I want to say, you can write this down somewhere on that page, is on page 20, is we never want to hang up with the customer unless we have a real appointment, a tentative appointment, or a phone appointment. Okay, a real appointment, we all know what that is. Obviously, a tentative appointment is a tentative appointment, which tend to become real appointments. Okay, so always try for a tentative appointment, and then if you can't get a tentative appointment, we want to work on a phone appointment where we have a time scheduled and they understand it to talk again to maybe move further in the future. So real appointment, tentative appointment, or a phone appointment. So looking at this up here, we give the customer 2 choices, and east and west. You may be familiar with it. It's going around the auto industry. It's been around the auto industry for quite some time now. But east and west, 15 after the hour and 45 after the hour. Why does it work? I don't know. We didn't make it up. Phone Ninjas didn't make it up. I do want to let you know that it did come from a study about 12 years ago.
To the service drive, new vehicle check-in.
About 12 years ago, from a team of dentists that were having trouble, obviously, with their patients showing up for their appointments. I can understand that. Not everybody's eager to jump in the car and head to the dentist. So they did a study, spacing out appointments, looking at different ways to set appointments, times the appointments were being set, and they found that on the 15 and the 45, they had a bigger success of their patients showing up for their appointments, which is money, to a dentist's office, and of course money to a car dealership, possibly. So that's why the 15 and 45 is used so often around the industry. It's actually gone out, from the dentist to the auto industry. Actually, anybody in commerce and in business in general that are setting appointments are using these techniques now. So you'll start to see it many other places if you pay attention to it. So be prepared to ask more than once. Okay. My motto and the Phone Ninja's motto is one and done doesn't get it done. Okay. When you're in person, you're selling a car. You go for a close. I don't think you guys ask one time for the business, and if they say no, you're like, well, okay, thanks for your time. I'm sure many of you do go in for the close a second time, or a manager goes in for a TO, whatever the case may be. I'm sure you ask for more than once. Am I right? Yes. Same thing with the appointment. Be prepared to ask more than once. 3 to 5 times if you can on a phone call, just to see. Don't irritate them, but there's some effective ways to ask for that appointment more than once. And of course, like I said, tentative appointments tend to become real appointments. So moving on. Here it goes on page 20. Just a little bit of the word track after we put them on hold for that 10 to 20 seconds. And there's going to be a few ways I'm going to approach this that will tie into what I talked about earlier before. Thank you for holding. Based on inventories, we have great availability. And speaking of which, when are you more available? Now or later today? Today or tomorrow? Morning or afternoon? You're going to hear me say those 6 different examples over and over again just so they stick in your head and you'll start saying them more often too. An hour later today, today or tomorrow, morning or afternoon. You can use which variation you want to, depending on what time of day it is also. But those are what I want to talk about, an hour later today. So hopefully they will say, I'm available on Friday at 3:45. Then you continue in with the rest of the appointment call. But if they don't, say, you know your schedule better than I do. You give me a time, or you give me a day, and hopefully we can set that appointment sooner than later, which I'll talk about later on. Because the sooner we set appointments, the more effective they are to show. Now, the longer we set them out, a week from now, hopefully we're not setting them out. Sometimes it has to happen, But if you set the appointment out too far, anything can happen. They can be on a lunch break at work and then drop by another dealership and see a car, and then they meet somebody just to drop in, and they end up selling the car, then your appointment becomes, null and void. So try to set them sooner than later. So remember what I talked about when customers on the phone with you, they're imagining what you look like, what you're doing, and the product you're discussing. So if you can narrow down on that time, I have openings in my appointment book at 3:15 and 4:45, which works best for you. You want to get them to comment on that. Pick a time. So when you're saying that, I'm going to give you 2 examples. I want you to listen and tell me what you think is more effective, okay? I'm looking at my appointment book, and it looks like I have openings at 3:15 and 4:45. Which one works best for you? Or I'm looking at my appointment book, and it looks like I have openings at 3:15 and 4:45. Which one works best for you? Now, out of those examples, A or B, which one sounded better to you? A? Why A? I'll give you A again, let you tell me. I'll give you A one more time. I'm looking at my appointment book, and it looks like I have openings at 3:15 and 4:45. Which one works best for you? Or I'm looking at my appointment book, this is B, and it looks like I have openings at 3:15 and 4:45. Which one works best for you? Anybody seeing what I'm doing there? The second one, why the second? Exactly. Remember, they're envisioning what you're doing, so that's the way, since they're doing that, I'm going to give them something I'm painting that middle picture by my wording, which is, and you can actually, hopefully you have some you're writing on, and you can say, and 3:15 and 4:45. So there's an effective technique there to let them know that you are serious. It's not because the 15 and 45 is to show that you're slam busy, okay? That's just about that technique, but just to show that we're doing that. So does that make sense? Any questions on that? Remember, tentative appointments too. We're going to talk about tentative appointments here momentarily. So handling objections. What is the best way to handle an objection? The easiest way. Anybody want to take a guess? The easiest way to handle an objection?
Acknowledge it.
Not get it in the first place, right? That's exactly it. But it's obviously not going to be a perfect world all the time. So we're going to get objections, and we're going to have to handle them the right way. So the number one objections that we do here, and I'm sure maybe you see it too, is what? What is the number one objection we hear about not being able to set an appointment? Right on the money. Spouse. The spouse objection. I have to check with my wife. I have to check with my husband. Right? Anybody else hear that? Yeah. It's true. It's really the most common that we hear most often. So with that being said, we're going to have an approach which is old school sales called pace lead techniques. Anybody familiar with pacing and leading? Dan is. Pacing. Has anybody heard that term before? Pacing and leading? Okay. That's okay. Pacing and leading is a technique that we use to acknowledge an objection, like you talked about earlier, just a few minutes ago, but also then moving into the direction we want to go. Okay, so pacing means I'm making myself one with you. Okay, we're actually one-on-one. We're alike now. Okay, we're one. Okay, so once we've done that, then I'm gonna go into my lead, which I'm leading you to where I want you to go. Then once I did that. Okay, so the pacing and leading technique. You can just write on page 21. You don't have to write out down, so I'll give it to you later on. The customer says, I have to check with my wife first. And I say, well, John, I can certainly understand and appreciate that. I know if I set something up with my wife, she'd probably be upset with me too. So, with that being said, I definitely can understand. But that was my pace. So I just made myself one with him. Okay, just understanding, acknowledging, we're equal, okay? So the lead is, well, John, you see, it gets kind of busy down here around the dealership, and the last thing I want for you to do is you and your wife to come here and have to wait on me or another salesperson. Let's do this, okay? That's my key words. Let's do this. Let's set a tentative appointment so I can have everything ready for you and you can talk to your wife, okay? And now you know her schedule better than I do. When do you think she would be more available? Now or later today or tomorrow, morning or afternoon? So I just paced myself with him, but then I said, it gets kind of busy down here around the dealership. And the last thing I want for him and his wife to do is have to wait on me or another salesperson. So when I said that, I made some urgency, I created some urgency, but then I said, now you know your wife's schedule, or Lisa, you know your husband's schedule better than I do. Let's do this. Let's set a tentative appointment, okay? When do you think she would be more available? Or when do you think he would be more available? An hour later today, later tomorrow, later afternoon. And what that is doing is, I paste her, whoever it is, in my lead, and even though I say it's a tentative appointment, I'm still saying, hey, now you know her schedule, or you know your schedule, or his schedule better than I do. When do you think they would be more available? So they're setting that a tentative appointment, which again tends to turn into a real appointment. Does that make sense? So everything you see here, going forward, we're going to have lacing with A and B questions, okay? But we're also going to see when we cover objections and the techniques that we use that, you know, we're pacing, we're understanding it, but again, it's going back for the close for the appointment, okay? It'll be full circle all the way around, and it always turns out to closing on the appointment again. So you'll see that moving forward with everything. So we get a time, and he says, let's say, he says, Friday at, 3:45. It doesn't, not what the time is. But then we're going to driving towards closure. Now I'm looking up here because there's a few things that that are very important. Okay, the first one is, do you have a pencil handy? I'll wait. Do you have a pencil handy? I'll wait. It's the first thing I say. Whenever I got a time and we agreed on time verbally, I say, do you have a pencil handy? I'll wait. Whenever I say pencil. Anybody want to take a guess on pencil?
They don't have a pencil handy.
You're right, exactly. Most people don't have a pencil handy. They may have a pen, and sometimes, many times you hear them say, well, I have a pen. I have a pen. Will that work? Perfect, okay? Just so they look for something to write. That's the whole reason that we're really saying that, okay? I have something important for you to write down. This is how we prevent them from airpinning us. Remember I talked about that earlier. We don't want them to just say, yeah, I got it. This is how we really get them to grab something to write with. And I don't care if they get a pencil or not, or if they have a pencil, that's fine. But we want them to write down our information. And so we said, do you have a pencil handy? I'll wait. Or you can see here, do you have a pencil handy? I always like to say, I'll wait right after, because that's like an embedded command. Okay, that's making them go get something to write. I'll wait. Okay, that's an embedded command. And let's say I have something important for you to write down. Okay. Then they get it, say, okay, great, I got it. Say, write this down, please. Okay, then we'll spell out our last name. My last name is Costner. My first name is Chris. My direct dial is 757-289-1860. I'm also going to send you an email with some important information. Would you like me to send that to your work or your home email address? That section right there on page 22, that is where you're going to get the email address, okay? Before they even get to the dealership, okay? I know your management says email address. It's important. This is a way that we're going to get it right here. Now, I'm also going to send you some important information to your email. Send it to your home or your work email address. And hopefully they'll give it to you. Now, your appointment is at, and this is going to go into anybody remember Colombo? Mm-hmm. Know who Colombo is? Yeah? Some don't.
The young ones are like, what?
Yeah. Colombo actually questioned others in a way that he already knew the answer, was just waiting them to expand and reiterate on it. So we're going to do the Colombo. Now your appointment is at, and we're going to pause, and hopefully the customer tells us, Friday, okay, at 3:45, yeah, that's correct. Let me write that in my appointment book too, and then let them know that you're writing that in your appointment book, so it really closes and drives towards closure. That's what that's called. Okay, so now your appointment is at, and get them talking, Friday at, yeah, that's right, 3:45. And then let them know that you're going to write that down in your appointment book too. Telling the customer, you're putting it in your appointment book, makes them feel obligated. Okay, it's going to make them, hopefully not show. Okay, you're going to get the ones that don't show, and it's going to happen. We need to understand that, but then there's ways to handle that after the fact. So. Driving towards closure. From then, we're going to go in directions to the dealership. Again, very simple, very easy to do. Just the directions to the dealership using landmarks. We don't want to give them other dealerships to look for. Okay, don't give, especially your competition. Whatever there is around here. Use other landmarks. Use restaurants. Use street names if they're familiar with the area. But then actually get them to make that mental drive with you. Again, going into the Colombo. Okay, now which way are you going to be coming from? All right, you're going to take, okay, right, and then you're going to take a, okay. Get them to make that mental drive with you on the telephone. That just really seals the appointment even stronger, okay? What else we got here? If they can't do it, they can't take the mental trip with you, put in their, ask for the email address again, okay? This is another way. In case you didn't get the email address before, this is another way to source for that email. So, directions to the dealership. And always ask, okay, by the way, how did you hear about our dealership? This is where you're going to source the call, okay? Are they calling from Auto Trader? Are they calling from Cars.com? Are they calling from your own website? Are they calling from, you don't have a newspaper, so you don't have to worry about that. But find out where they're calling from. This is how we're going to source the call. You get good at sourcing, it definitely helps, your management team to spend their dollars wisely to hopefully get you more business. So if we know it's working, we need to put more money that way. If we know what isn't working, maybe we should back off some. So that's the reason why we source calls. So I always ask for the source code, and then say, by the way, how did you hear about our dealership? You know where we're located, and then where will you be coming from? That's when we get them to make that mental drive with us. So that's just 7 sections just of an inbound phone call. Okay, it's not fancy. It's not rocket science. It's just handling the phone call in the right way to effectively sell the appointment. So we set the appointment. Appointment's at Friday at 3:45. And your scripts are going to show a lot more, but the appointment's at Friday at 3:45, so we hang up with the customer. Okay? We hang up with the customer, we got our appointment, we load it in our CRM, we talk about it. Now let's think of me as the customer on the other end of the line. Actually, let's go outside of the business for a minute. Let's say I'm let's say I'm going to get engaged this weekend. And yeah, yeah, crazy, right? No, let's say I'm gonna get engaged this weekend, so I want to take my girlfriend out to a nice restaurant and propose to her when I get back. So I call up some place in Virginia Beach and say I call Morton's Steakhouse. I call Morton's and I talk to the maitre d' and excuse me. And I say, yeah, I'd look for reservations for possibly, 8 o'clock Saturday night. I'm going to get engaged, whatever. So she or he says, okay, Mr. Costner, I got you down for 8 o'clock Saturday night. We look forward to seeing you. I say, great. So there's an appointment right there that was made, right, with a restaurant. Same thing we just did with the customer on the telephone for a vehicle. So 15 minutes later, I get a phone call, and they say, hi, is Chris there? And I said, well, this is him. And then he says, Chris, am I catching you at a bad time? I said, well, no, it's not. And then he introduces himself, okay? So first of all, looking at that, and we'll get into it further, but I want to let you know, he asked if it was me. He acknowledged and made sure it was me on the telephone. And then he asked, he got permission to continue further before introducing himself, okay? Which I said, great to both. Then he introduces himself. He says, this is John. I'm the executive chef at Morton's Steakhouse here in Virginia Beach, and I see that you got reservations with us for Saturday night at 8 o'clock. And I said, yeah, I do. He goes, well, I understand it's a very big night for you. Congratulations. I said, well, thank you. He goes, then he continues to go on. He said, well, I want to let you know that I've got a very nice table and area picked out for you and your future fiance. And Lisa is going to be your server for that evening. She's phenomenal. You guys are going to love her. Let me ask you a question. Does your wife or your future wife like flowers? I said, yeah, she likes the roses. It was great. I'll have some nice roses put on the table. And do me a favor, when you get here, have your server, Lisa, come get me out of the kitchen so I can come out and say hello. And again, thank you for joining us Saturday night, and we look forward to seeing you at 8 o'clock. Boom. And how would that make you feel if you were somebody that was going to go out to dinner or go get engaged or wherever the occasion was? What type of phone call would that, make you feel? How would that make you feel? Pretty powerful, isn't it? Especially, I set an appointment, which was my reservation, and the manager or the executive chef from Morton's Steakhouse calls me and just makes that 15, 20-second phone call. Now, what is that essentially, though? Huh? Manager confirmation call. So we set appointments. We can have our managers, or even maybe peers of our own, to make this phone call. But it actually just makes the customer feel appreciated. Okay. It definitely improves show ratio. It just adds that little more glue to the appointment itself. and it keeps salespeople, keeps you guys from setting, focused on setting solid appointments rather than just, I'm not saying it happens, but saying you have appointments just to appease your manager. So making solid appointments to show up, and then again, goodness, and it keeps you guys from setting solid appointments. So looking at this real quick, management confirmation call on page 24. And anybody can do it. It can be a customer relationship manager. It can be a director of customer satisfaction. It could be the sales manager. It could be the general sales manager. It could be the general manager. It could be anybody just calling and making this phone call. And it says, "Hi, is Chris there? Hope I'm not getting you at a bad time." Now, looking at this, we thought about, or we heard about before, am I catching you at a good time versus I hope I'm not getting you at a bad time. There's a reason why we say I hope I'm not getting you at a bad time versus am I catching you at a good time. And there's a psychology behind it. Inherently, customers like to say no to us, okay, more than they like to say yes. Okay, so we want them to say no in this case because it then is, really a positive versus a negative. So we want them to say no. I hope I'm not getting you at a bad time. No. This is John. I'm the sales manager, or I'm the customer relations director, whatever the role is at Anderson Ford. Okay. The reason for my call is I was reviewing our appointment schedule. I noticed that you have an appointment on Friday at 3:45. I just wanted to call and thank you for taking the time to come down to our dealership. Lisa is one of our top sales associates, and you will definitely enjoy her. She's very product knowledgeable. Matter of fact, when you get here, tell Lisa to come and get me because I want to come out and say hello, and I'll also be the one responsible for working on the numbers on the vehicle you select. Again, I've got Friday at 3:45 set aside for you to show you vehicles, and we'll see you then. Okay, that's all that is. Just a quick manager phone call, confirmation call, just sealing the appointment a little bit stronger, and so the customer knows that Lisa that they talked to on the phone already set the appointment. And now the manager calls, so now that just creates a big positive feeling about how this is going to go once they get here. So one thing to remember though, when that customer does show up, we do want to get everybody involved immediately to kind of reset the stage and kind of regroup and work from there. So if you can focus on that, you'll definitely have more success with your appointments. So practice, and I've got more scripts than you can think of, and more directions that you can think of to go with your customers at any given point, which you will get. But this is practice. Okay, do we practice until we can't get it right, or until we can't get it wrong? It's just going to take practice, guys. Role play with each other with the scripts, with the phone guides. You're going to make mistakes, definitely going to make mistakes, and it's okay, okay? But at least you're moving further and you're progressing. And again, it's not a script unless you know it, unless you know it by heart. Now, I'm not expecting anybody to know it by heart and have it memorized, okay? I'm expecting to have them next to you somewhere close by when you are taking a phone call. Eventually, you're going to start remembering more and more and more and more and more by saying it. But again, you don't want to make the mistake of trying to memorize something and then go in the wrong direction and really not, being effective with the call guide itself. Or when you do say it many times, you will be at, Burger King parking lot or, McDonald's or somewhere away from the store. The customer will call you on the cell phone, and then you can still go along the guide and the path to the phone appointment wherever you're at. So at least keep that in mind. So any questions on the inbound phone call before we move forward just a little bit further? Yeah.
It's been my experience that during the inbound phone call and setting the appointment, we talked about percentages and people calling for specific reasons and everything like that.
Yeah.
During the driving towards closure, the selling the appointment.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for holding based on inventories. We have great availability and speaking of which you're more when are you more available now or later today? And he was talking about not having our computer screens up and all that. It's been, if people are calling, 90% of these people have been online and they're calling about a specific vehicle. They want to know that that specific vehicle is there and is going to be ready for them to see.
Yes.
If they're not, what I've found over and over and over again is if that specific vehicle is not there, and you try to rebut the situation by bringing up other vehicles and whatnot. It's kind of hard to overcome that particular objection when they're looking for something specific. And I know we're not supposed to be order takers and all that and whatnot, but with the actual selling point of the appointment, it's a little rough, you know.
I see what you're saying. You definitely want the vehicle to be here. You definitely, let's back up just a minute. You want the customer to come see what they're looking for. Okay, we know 86% of the time possibly they can buy something different than what they originally inquired on. We're not here to just get them in, by no means, but when I talked about the computer screen being off, chances are that you would be looking at the same thing the customer is anyway, okay? Because if it's on your computer, it's on their computer, whether it's here or not. Many times, or not many times, but oftentimes, there can be a vehicle online that was just recently sold and maybe took a little while to get off, you know, or things of that nature. So what we want to do, keeping in line with our transparency and our authenticity in our way of customer service, we want to concentrate on that appointment, okay? We can set the appointment, we can talk about availability, because even if you use the word availability, you know, even if that car isn't here, I'm sure there's an availability of that car again, unless there's, you know, some sacred cow that, you know, who, you know, only one existed, but I don't think that's the case. So we can use the word availability for that, you know, for that term, for that reason, and set the appointment. Now, if it's a vehicle that has been sold, that vehicle that isn't here, we can always call that customer back and let them know, say, hey, you know, just had an update on that vehicle you just inquired on. It has been sold, or it has been, you know, sent away, whatever the case may be. But we at least call them back and then give them the opportunity to cancel that appointment. Okay, that's just being upfront with them. But I do find oftentimes when you are that clear and that transparent with the customer, and you've gone with your qualifying techniques earlier in the phone call, and they gave you some different options, you know, especially if you could save them a few dollars, you know, when those questioning, they'll keep that appointment. Okay, just because you were honest with them, you called them and gave them the courtesy rather than bringing them here for something that they couldn't see. So they appreciate that. So many times I do hear the customer, you know, will keep the appointment and still show up and maybe go look at something else that you got available just because you gave them that courtesy. So that goes a long way. Now, on the other hand, the other side of that, you got customers, I don't know if you get it often, but many do, you know, customers 3 and 4 hours away. There's a lot of times that you're going to have to take care of almost the whole thing prior to them coming in. I wouldn't want anybody driving 3 or 4 hours on a car that didn't exist. So that's, you know, using your own common sense there. But does that answer your question on setting the appointment and giving the opportunity to cancel it? But we want to concentrate on the appointment first, getting them mentally prepared to show up at a certain time, and then we can, you know, handle accordingly in the event the vehicle is not here.
The point there, like, is like when we talk about when someone calls in on a car that's not there anymore, you being able to ask the questions, you know, what had you interested in that vehicle?
Yes.
You completely just push that car off to the side. Like the problem is we all of a sudden we start running around putting people on hold. Anybody know what the situation? A lot of times the car, no one knows. You ask 3 people. Oh, I was here this morning. I don't know where the keys are. Blah blah blah. I don't know if it's sold. There's all that, and you're doing that the entire time. You're making the customer wait, and then it's just this frantic mess of trying to find. What you need to be doing is that. Let me get the information for you. Let me look into that, and then start going through the appointment setting, and then basically at that point you can always. We want you to, like, you know, when those situations are coming down from Columbus or something like that, you to call that customer back, but then be able to talk about, still offer them, based off the information gathering you did with them and meeting their needs, you can now offer them other vehicles, still give them a reason to keep the appointment.
It's just I've had a lot of appointments where I set for this day, and then the day before that car got sold, they come in expecting to see that car. They get so mad, and then it feels like it's my fault that, you know, that they got mad and walked out because I wasn't informed of that car being sold the day before.
Yeah, that's anybody. I mean, anybody who has. If you set an appointment now this time of the week for like a Friday, any of you guys, you know, and your manager confirms the call, let's say on Wednesday or Thursday, something like that. You should always kind of know your appointment schedule and what people are coming in on. I mean, there's on the other side of it, where the customer doesn't have any involvement. You're always paying attention to the inventory and the cars that are coming in. Because really what you should be doing, Thursday night or Friday morning, you should be putting your hands in that vehicle again, make sure it goes through detail, it's clean, it's not crap, and it's parked up by the store before that appointment comes in. So that's just part of the due diligence of being ready for those appointments. But yeah, we can discuss some of that stuff later too. But we'll get back.
But before we get to that point, just like Dan was saying, our qualifying techniques. If you want to just take a quick peek back on page 16, if you're calling in on something specific, just to reiterate this, I may have gone over a little fast. I'm not sure. If you're calling on something specific, so we're not always stuck on that one car. These are a few of those questions down at the bottom there. To ask, just to see if we have that opportunity to open them up to some other options, okay? That's what you want to do. So again, if the car isn't here or is sold, we always, give them the courtesy of calling them back. Because chances are that customer's going to keep the appointment, I can promise you that. They're not just going to say, I'm not coming in, just because you gave them that courtesy and we're professional about it. Any questions? Any more questions on any of these sections going through? I'll definitely be able to help out anyway. Management confirmation call, nothing.
How soon after you get off the phone with them should should the manager call them, or should you bring that up to the manager?
10, 15 minutes later? Yeah, 10, 15 minutes later. Just kind of, because they already got the emotions from the phone call with you, hopefully, with your voice inflections and your tones, your excitement, because excitement breeds excitement, right? Hopefully they're still, excited about that phone call that you did a great job and they feel good. So when the manager calls, that feeling is still going on, and you just boost it up that much more, and then you got even more solid appointment. So it's definitely a nice touch to put on. Okay, I know things get busy. I know Saturdays when customers are calling, you guys are working deals and deliveries and going over owner's manuals and all kinds of stuff going on, and things can get kind of crazy, and you may not be able to get your manager to come off the desk or make that phone call because they're working deals. So things are going to happen. Okay? It's not a perfect world, but maybe if you can get one of your peers to call on behalf of you doing that call. Say, I'm not going to say you're a manager, but say, you were the director of customer satisfaction or whatever the case may be. You're calling on behalf of the owner and general manager. You're just going through your appointment book and see that you have an appointment at Friday at 3:45. That's a nice approach. And just try it, okay? Just that second step there. What'd you say?
Because we were just saying, we're confirming what a great idea is.
Exactly, it definitely is a great idea, okay? And you don't have to say you're the manager, the general manager. Like I say, I'm calling on behalf of the owner and general manager, okay? And I'm looking at our appointment schedule and see that you're going to be in at Friday at 3:45. And then you can get into the rest of the management confirmation call. Any questions on that?
Lee Ashley, you have a call holding on line 1.
No, just not screw it up. Yeah, just don't screw it up, right? No pressure. So, with that being said, on the inbound side, you're on your way to being phone ninjas, and there'll be so much more of the program as you progress, even into this afternoon, and then into the weeks coming. But again, it takes practice. Okay, role play, learn from mistakes, and again, it's not a script unless when you know it by heart. But again, if you're not comfortable, going off the cuff, please don't. Just don't sound robotic when you're reading or you're using it as a guide. Okay, put your personality into it. I've actually heard a phone call and the salesperson's on the phone and he's going over the script and it wasn't great. You could tell he was reading. And you guys think and use your own judgment on how to do that. But the customer said, "Are you reading from a script?" And the young man was like, "Yeah, and you're not doing your part." And so from that point, he was like, "Well, put the script down and talk to me like a man." And so he put the script down, and they had a great conversation afterwards. Really, informal. He's like, "Well, put the script down and talk to me like a man." So he's like, "Okay." He's like, "Yeah, you're not doing your part." So I laughed. I mean, it was so funny. So as far as normally at this point, I was going to show I don't think you guys have internet here, do you? When are you going to show them the dashboard and the?
It's on Monday, right?
Okay.
We had set up the appointment for the managers, and then the managers could include the salespeople on there.
Okay, so
because Friday we'll all be moving snow.
Yeah, that's right from the email. So
Thursday.
I won't.
Thursday.
Just to give you an idea.
At night.
Do you need to get online? Or no? You're
No.
okay.
I was going to give them just an idea. I'll just give them a quick idea, quick overview of what is going to happen with their phone calls. And then they'll see that live demo with the management team, I guess, next week.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: once you guys have once this training is over, and you have all the call guides, which I can get to you all this evening, your phone calls. And again, this is not to embarrass anybody. This is not to bash anybody. It's just to keep us all improving on a day-to-day basis with our phone calls. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into your call tracking system and download phone calls. Okay, so for instance, if you took a phone call today, more likely we're going to find that by tomorrow morning. And then our coaches are going to coach it in accordance to these sections that you're learning over these 2 days, and we'll continue to work on. And that recording will have we download it into a piece of software, and our coaches embed their comments. Like if it was a great greeting, say, "Nice greeting, Chris," okay? Great job. Or if it was a fast greeting, said, good greeting, Chris, a little fast, try to slow it down. So those type of comments are going to go all the way through the entire section of the phone call. And then at the end of that phone call, she or he will embed a secret code, okay? And that secret code could be blue or red or beach ball or whatever the code is, okay? So then that goes into the phone call. And then they put it in a report card. They coach it and score it in accordance to a 0 to a 5.0. Okay, that's your PSI score, which is a phone skills index. And that score, whatever that score is, and hopefully, it's higher than lower. But then that will be generated to an email to you and your management team. That email will then have your score, shows a line in each section of the phone call, greeting, so on and so forth, and your scores for each section. With that being said, then your recording is also going to be in that phone call. Okay, so your job is, as the person who took the phone call, is to go in and review their phone call. Okay, and it's going to be set to show that you reviewed. There's going to be a spot where you have to put in that secret code. There won't be fast forwarding options of the MP3 file. So then you reviewed your phone call. If you have any comments, you can also place in there for your management team to see. Like if you really had trouble with a certain section that you need more help on or something of that nature, you can do that. And then also with that, there's going to be sections, and your management team is going to set thresholds to certification and non-certification. Most of it's set at 2.50 out of a 5 right now. So if you score below a 2.5, you will then become uncertified in that section of the phone call. With that being said, there's videos you can go see and watch, or you'll have to go and see and watch, and then take a 4 to 5 question test to become then certified once again.
425, not 45.
Huh? 425, not 45. 425. Short. It's about a 5 to 4, 5, 6 minute video, 4 or 5 questions, and then you can hopefully you answer them right, and then you become certified again. And that's on a call by call that's being coached. Okay, so for instance, the next call you take, you do bad in the greeting, and then you'll have to go to that section and watch the videos and take the video for that point in time and take the test. So it's a continuous, ongoing coaching and learning. Any questions on that, or any concerns on that? Really easy. It's a lot of fun. Again, we're not here to embarrass or bash anybody. It's just a way to keep the training and the learning going. Because my coaches will also put in the comments, how you did and what to do and how to approach these techniques here.
So every call that comes in is recorded.
Every call probably is recorded.
Yeah,
but not every call will be down. It's according to your management.
Yeah, most all the calls are coming in are recorded, and they always have been. I mean, we have 80 some tracking numbers.
Oh, wow,
but
okay.
But most of the people taking calls right now are just in the internet offices. Okay, so what they'll do is they have access to all those recordings. They'll kind of listen through them. They'll find calls, and they'll start to compile. They'll make sure they get one good coached call per week per salesperson. So you'll have 4 coached calls a month. They'll track your scores, and it's a pretty neat deal. From what I've seen in the other stores I've talked to, I mean, you can look at their dashboards and kind of see them go up. And then from that, sales go
You
up,
can definitely see
close
this.
rates go up. I mean, it's just
So they go in and get those calls, you don't have to do any of that?
you don't have to do anything. You just you pick up the phone. You may hear a whisper, so you kind of know which area it's coming from on that end. But yeah, pretty much any recorded call you'll hear a whisper on.
Who's calling?
We use call source right now.
Source? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you hear the whisper on the source, then, great. That's one less thing you have to worry about. But you can still ask the customer, how you heard about us in those later sections of the phone call. So it's a good program. You guys will continue to learn and have fun with it. Also, I wanted to say real quick before we go into a few other things before lunch, is the PSI score. The PSI score is something that we actually invented, and obviously you see the PSI score. The higher the PSI score, the higher the appointment to show ratio is. So you want to concentrate on high PSI score, which stands for Phone Skills Index. 5.0 though, every time in every quarter, you get a perfect 5.0 score from a phone call, your name is going to go on a list. And that list is shown nationwide from all dealerships that run our program, and your name will be on there. So if you have one perfect 5.0 call, hopefully you have more than one. But if you have 1 1/4, your name will be up there 1 time. If you have 5 1/4, your name will be up there 5 times. 10, whatever. Whatever the case is, your name will be up there that many times for a 5.0 score. So then at the end of each quarter, we do a live drawing on a webinar that we'll invite you to if your name's on there. And by random number generator, we pick a number because you'll have a number by every time your name goes up there. And if your number comes up, you get a 7-day, 6-night stay to Hawaii for you and, well, it's been Hawaii for the last 2 quarters. Who knows where it's going to be, but I think the next one's Hawaii too. For you and a guest, 7-day, 6-night, airfare included, plus $1,000 spending cash to enjoy that week, just for having your name pop up from taking a good phone call. So just a little incentive there to get your name up there as many times as possible. Just something to think about. It's kind of exciting. We had a young lady from Cavender Toyota in San Antonio win last quarter, and she was pretty excited, but it's a pretty good deal. So I'm not saying it's going to be Hawaii every single time. It could be, who knows where it could be, but it's going to be something worth that kind of trip.
Alaska. What are your odds of actually? What are your odds of actually winning that? 1 in 200,000?
No.
Well, it depends on well, there's all kinds of ways to look at that.
Because you said you got like 5,000 dealerships or something like that.
I got about 500 dealerships right now.
5,000 calls.
5,000 calls, okay, 500.
5,000 calls a month to listen to. But not everybody's getting 5.0 scores.
Right.
Okay. Some, there's all kinds of variables that go into factor. Management not really focused on their team. We get the good and the bad even with anything. So you guys seem to have a progressive and forward-thinking organization, which is good. But yeah, as far as the odds, I don't random number generator. I don't know what that would do, but if you've got
this isn't Vegas. Don't worry about
it.
it.
147 names, like for instance, there was like 147 names last quarter. And I'm sure
there you go, 1 in 147.
One name on there. So whatever that is. I don't know. But we know now, the kind of idea on what a good phone call, handling a good phone call, and how to approach it through these steps, will sound like eventually. So I want to just let you hear a couple calls. This first call is from the good. We talked about good. Okay, you guys can handle a good one if you tried. Bad. This is from a general manager sent this to me, not a client of mine, but he sent it to me and wanted me to listen to it, and then said use it if you want to or whatever. So I was kind of floored about it because it is a bad phone call, and I'll just let you listen and see what you guys think.
Is this someone who's been through the training or not?
No.
Okay, but
This is just a bad phone call. Huh? You probably like it, but then you think about how you would handle it and things that we talked about. This is a real call up. Here we go.
Yeah, I'm calling regarding your ad of the 96 4-liter. Can you talk about that? 96 4-liter? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, I know which one you're talking about. How's that? What type of different? Well, I just wondering, can you tell me a little bit more about it? That was kind of vague.
Well, I think we still have it. It's the paperwork on it is over in another building and I'm not over there. So, but I'll try to help you. What kind of work do you do?
Well, I don't know if that matters right now. I just want to know, like, how miles.
Well, it depends. You know, it depends. I need to know. You know, are you going to finance it?
Yeah, probably a portion of it.
Yeah. What? Oh, do you remember what the price was?
I think it was around, I don't know, 15.
Oh yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about. It's got high miles.
99.
Yeah, it's the one with the high miles on it. I know which one you're talking about now. So, what kind of work do you do?
I'm a planner.
A planner? You plan stuff?
Yeah.
Do you work for yourself or do you work for a company?
I work for a company.
Oh, you do? Mm-hmm. The reason I ask, sometimes, you know, if you work for yourself, it's hard to show, you know, proof of income. Right, but, you know, but if you,
no, I think that people get credit. I shouldn't have a problem with that.
yeah, people always say that, and they're always surprised. You know, but anyway, you think you could come down to the dealership?
Are you sure you have it?
Hey, what's your name? Bill? I'm Ron. My name's Ron. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think we still have it. You know, we haven't been sold very many cars. But let me ask you a question.
It's a real car, guy.
I'm going to be off tomorrow because, to tell you the truth, I'm going to be I'm going to be having a couple of views at a couple of different dealerships tomorrow.
Interviews.
You know, the commissions they pay here are very good.
Wow.
And so I'm going to have these 2 interviews, and I'm sure one of them's going to offer me a position. And
so am I talking to the wrong person?
no, I think what you could do is if you, you know, let me see how I do tomorrow, and then you know, you have a lot better selection. And if you wanted to wait till I got over there, I'd probably start in a couple of days.
Yeah, this is what I really wanted was a 4runner.
Yeah, but there's a lot of 4runners. You know, they're easy to find.
Wow.
And I'm sure that the new place I'm going to work will have a couple for you to choose from. And I'll make you a better deal too, because, you know, since this would be a new job for me, I would be, you know, real anxious to make a sale, and they would probably, you know, work with me a little better and get you a better deal.
Well, that sounds good.
Well, why don't I do this? Why don't I take your phone number, and as soon as I get over to the other dealership, like in a couple of days, I'll call you, and then you can come over there, and maybe we can put something together for you. How much do you think? How much weight do you have to put down?
Really not too much. I need to get into pretty lean.
Do you have a car to trade in?
No. I need to get a car. I'm tired of it.
I mean, can you put like $1,000 down?
Possibly.
Okay.
Depends on my car.
Well, we can probably work something out. Let me see if I can get this other deal lined up, and then I'll take. What's your name again?
Bill.
Let me see if I can line this other job up, and I've been going through some tough times. I need to make some money, and they pay a lot higher commissions over the other 2 dealerships.
That's amazing.
Increase the cost of my car.
Well, you know, maybe a little bit, but I wouldn't worry about it. It'd be you know, you'll have a better selection, and I'll take care of you.
Well,
and why don't I just call you in a couple of days? Once you give me your number, and I'll call you, and we'll see if we can put something together.
Okay, it's 337. 2361.
Hey, hold on just a second. I need to get something right on. Okay, hold on.
It sounds like a joke.
I thought so too. It's actually
Hey, boss, you got rid of it. I'm just surprised the guy hasn't hung up on him yet.
Yeah, the kids obviously
He's still giving it.
Okay, go ahead.
we were by or maybe never watched it before.
Are you sure you're going to call me? Yeah, I'll call you. What's your name? It's Bill. Oh, yeah. Okay, what's your number? It's 337-2361.
I've been like that.
337-6321. 2361. 2361. Okay. Yeah, let me, let's see, today is Thursday. Well, we're going to have a long weekend. I'll call you on Tuesday. If I don't hear from you at the end of the week, I'm going to go look somewhere else. Okay. All right. Thanks for calling, man. All right. Bye, buddy.
It could have been the guy's cigar. The guy, I mean, to me, sounds like he may have been drinking a little bit. I don't know. Yeah. But obviously, he got his interview faster than he was planning on to. He's no longer with that organization. But obviously, you can listen and hear, all kinds of ways of we don't approach the phone call. And that was a real phone call, and these kind of phone calls are still happening today, in the industry, which is giving that stereotype that we talked about. Now, that was a bad call. Now, here's another phone call. It's very short.
How long ago was that?
Huh?
We can call Bill and sell him a
What's that?
We can call Bill.
Sell him
Sell him a car.
Yeah, it could have been.
A lot of them around, evidently.
There's all kinds of them out there. I'm sure we got one somewhere.
Yeah, there's all kinds, right?
What's sitting on the back row?
They're everywhere,
I
right?
don't sell a lot of cars.
Yeah,
it's probably still there.
Now, other side of this, just not to deter you from taking phone calls. We're not here to get you in trouble, or that's not even one of my clients. It was just somebody that I know in the industry that wanted to hear it. He wanted my boss to hear it, so we added it to this PowerPoint. But that's not our intention, okay? Our intentions are to get better, okay? We're not here to get anybody in trouble, so I doubt anybody in here takes phone calls and handles customers this way. That was bad, so don't think that this is the approach, because it isn't. Now, this is an ugly call. You thought that was bad, this is ugly. And this one is one of our clients.
Hopefully before the training.
No, been in the store on both sides of it, store and coaching. I looked at the call when it was downloaded. Came in about 5:40 in the evening, and they closed at 6 o'clock. I think it was either Saturday or Sunday, but they were still open. Okay, nonetheless. So here we go.
Yes. Hi, is this who I would call in reference to credit for a car?
Yes, but we're closed tonight.
Oh. Well, it's hard. It's extremely hard to get through to you guys.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
It's really hard. It's extremely hard to get through to you guys.
Okay, then go somewhere else.
What do you mean?
Okay, which part of it do you understand? If it's too much trouble for you, then call somebody else. We don't need your business. Bye.
Oh, wow.
He's gonna carry you.
Now,
That night.
it doesn't matter, and you guys know this, what time the customer calls, they're interested in doing business. And I always say, when I spoke last year in Vegas about customer loyalty, and I'm not trying to go on a tangent here, I'm a big believer in customer loyalty and considering it an honor to be of service. So whether they're calling you, whether they're standing in front of you, whatever time it is, that's our time to go to work. Okay, they chose to contact us, so it's time to go to work. So he had 20 minutes there to handle the business and handle the phone call appropriately, according to the date and time stamp. But he chose to go that route, which exponentially how did that affect the dealership? We don't know. We just know it was negative all the way around. So there's your ugly call. Uh-huh.
Some salesperson on a bad day.
It got worse. It got a lot worse after that. A lot worse. So there's just a couple calls there, and which way not to go. So now we're going to get into a few things of objection handling. Actually, what we can do, we'll be able to. What time do you want to start lunch?
12.
12. Okay, we're going to a couple objection handling because there's quite a bit here. We call them baiting techniques, and baiting meaning not to bait a customer like a bait and switch. I mean, we're kind of like fishermen, trying to lure a customer here the right way, in an ethical way, and transparent way. But nonetheless, we still have to use techniques to maybe change their thought process or maybe change their mindset and setting an appointment. So, with that being said, what type of verbiage will you use to talk to these customers? Okay, how are you going to motivate them? That's what we're here for, to motivate them. And again, some are going to be tougher than others. It's not going to be a cookie cutter type interaction, as you already know. For those of you that are taking phone calls, everyone's different. So you got to be able to flex and adjust accordingly with each phone call. So we're going to get into a couple here real quick. And number one, this is a trade technique that I talk about, and I put on here. This is my go-to technique, so to speak, because 75% of the time, your customer is going to have a trade. Okay, and when you're having reluctance with a phone call, and just can't get there, just can't get to that appointment on the inbound phone call session. Remember when we just talked about, went through those 7 steps? We can't make the headway. We need to switch gears, okay? And this is where we go into switching the customer's mindset and trying to go a different direction, and then ultimately trying to close again on the appointment. So again, 75% of the time, your customer's going to have a trade. So if you're having trouble, you can say, will this be a cash transaction, or would you like to see top dollar for a vehicle that you're currently driving? Okay? And then depending on what they're saying, normally 75% of the time they're going to say, yeah, I'd like to see what you guys can get me for my trade. So then we're going to go into, well, what kind of vehicle you're driving, what year, how many miles are on it, things like that, manual, automatic. But when they're talking about their trade, whether it's a newer one or even an older one, we need to stay excited about it. Okay, so if it is a 1999 Ford Probe with 280,000 miles on it, it doesn't matter. Okay, we never want to say that's a wholesale piece, or you might want to consider giving that to somebody in your family, or donate it to the Cancer Society. They don't want to hear that, do they? Remember we talked about paint the picture of the glass half full versus half empty. So we want to show them excitement about whatever the vehicle is. So if it does have 80,000 miles on it, say, really, it's under 85? Or if it's got 110,000 miles on it, really, it's under 120? Whatever that case may be, and whatever year it is, oh, really? Or what color is it? Oh, really? Get excited. Show them that. So if it's got 130,000 miles on it, really, it's under 150? Okay, it doesn't matter. Just adjust yourself accordingly and just show excitement about their trade. And then what we can say is, going into there, say, that sounds just like the type of vehicle that my manager would like to have in our inventory, whatever it is. Okay? That sounds like just the type of vehicle my manager would like to have in our inventory. I'm confident that I can get you top dollar for your trade. Okay? And what do we want them to say? I'm confident I can get you top dollar for your trade. What are they normally going to say? How much? And then you want to say, good question. When was the last time you had your vehicle professionally appraised? Well, never. Well, that's probably where we need to start. When would you be more available? Now or later today or tomorrow, morning or afternoon? See how that all went in a circle? Couldn't get the appointment the first time, so then I went into the trade technique. And then went to the trade technique, asked about their trade, and then say, I'm confident that my manager can get you top dollar for it. They say, well, how much? And then I say, good question. When was the last time you had your vehicle professionally appraised? Well, never. Well, that's probably where we need to start. We need more available now or later today or tomorrow, morning or afternoon. Does that make sense? One big circle, back to the close on the appointment. Any questions on the trade technique? Anybody have any issues with it? Like it, don't like it? That's my go-to technique all the time. Because you ever having any trouble? That's just like maybe a bad choice of words, but maybe like a Jedi mind trick. You're talking one thing, you know what I mean? Talking one way, and you just can't get anywhere. So, hey, you gonna pay cash? You're looking to receive top dollar for your trade. Just kind of totally switching gears and seeing if their mind goes that way too. Again, there's a lot of psychology behind all this. What did you say? Go ahead.
Mind trick.
Huh?
Jedi mind trick.
Yeah.
That's the car you're looking for.
But it's getting them talking and getting their thought process going somewhere else, and then hopefully capitalizing on the appointment. Ultimately, that's why we're here. So trade technique. Finance technique, definitely an important one. It is the second one that I use because 90% of our customers are going to, need financing. Okay, some of them are going to pay cash, some of them are going to arrange their own financing. I don't know, what do you guys see mostly here? You guys do a lot of outside financing? Customers aren't having their check? No. Huh? They see it? You see it a lot? Somebody said no. No?
Well, we don't. We don't here. We don't ever see it.
Oh, I understand completely. I just was kind of curious. I know in Oklahoma they see a lot of it for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know. It's crazy. In more than one city in that state. So finance technique. Okay, you can say, well, this is another way. You can try to close on the appointment. You can say, will this be a cash deal, or would you be like most of our other customers and want to take advantage of our low rate financing? And there's just another transition to get into. They're going to say, hopefully they'll say, well, what's your interest rates? Now, when I talk about this, avoid quoting, because I'm sure there are a few of you in here that know probably half of your finance manager's rate books, probably know what kind of rates can go somewhere. But avoid quoting that, unless it's part of a national campaign. Okay, if Ford is advertising, what is Ford advertising right now? 0% on everything?
No.
Okay.
That's why you don't quote rates.
Huh?
That's why you don't quote rates.
Yeah, exactly. If there's something, if you're talking about a certain car, whoever it is, and there's something that they're blasting all over the TV or all over the internet, obviously you're going to have to acknowledge that. But anything else, don't quote those rates. And here's just a way to go to it. They ask what the interest rates are. And these are ones that you can think, and try to feel out just to see if they're okay to go this way. Excuse me. It's a great question. Thanks for asking. Okay, there are two variables that determine interest rate. The first is your credit rating, which is none of my business. That's between you and my business manager. We actually have two business managers here, and all they do is shop the local and the national lending institution for the best possible rates. Okay, since we are the largest Ford dealer in the area, I'm confident that I can get you the lowest rates. The second is the factor that determines interest rate is the stock number or the vehicle identification number on the vehicle you select. Okay, the bank is going to want to know that. Now, when would be a good time for you to come down and pick out that stock number or pick out that vehicle? An hour later today or tomorrow, morning or afternoon. Just acknowledging, just another, again, these are all just little attempts to get you to the appointment, okay? Switching the customer's mindset. Does that make sense? Nothing's 100%, as we all know, but the more tools and the more bullets you have in your gun, so to speak, certainly try it. So trade technique first, finance technique always works. Base price technique, go in here, base price. Now I use this base price for a couple reasons, and obviously avoid always quote the pricing of entry-level vehicles. Okay, whatever you sell, whatever store you're in, whatever your core product is, make a list. Want a Word document or wherever you want to put it on, handwritten paper, I don't care. But have it next to your computer of everything that you sell, okay? From the lowest car to the most expensive car, in theory. But always put next to those vehicles a base price. And I'm talking about that base price that's on the top of the enrolling label, not with all your ads and all your options. What is that top number? You know what I'm talking about? Everybody know what I'm talking about?
The starting cost.
Huh?
The starting cost.
Yeah, the starting cost, okay? That's your base price, okay? Write that down next to every one of those vehicles you sell. So when a customer talks about, what the selling price is of the vehicle, you can say, well, the selling price, let's talk about a, give me a Ford.
F-150.
F-150. Give me that top number on an entry-level F-150 two-wheel drive. Does it come with manual transmission?
No. 22.5.
22.5?
You're a regular cab.
Okay. Well, we don't have. Okay, I get it.
What's the stock number?
22.5, pretty safe to say. Close, right? You don't agree?
Anyway.
Okay.
For example's sake.
Yeah, for example's sake. So you can say the selling price is $22.5, and of course they go up from there depending on how fancy you want. Now, is it the type of price you're looking for? You just kind of get an idea just to see, and then say, great. With the big sale going on, I'm confident that I can save you some money, which will be more available an hour later today or tomorrow. Now, looking at that, always quote your lowest advertised price, okay? Especially if you've got incentives going on that go along with that. I know with Ford, there's tons with that computer system, you know, I mean, they can save money with this and that and this. I mean, there's tons of stuff, so I don't think you can actually memorize everything that they qualify for, but try to. And avoid the range game. You know, if the F-150 starts at 22.5 and goes up to what? 49.5. You know, if you give that range game, you say, well, they start at 22.5 and go up to 49.5. You know, they're going to want to come in. They set the appointment. What car are they going to want to look at? What truck are they going to want to look at? The 49.5, right? What are they going to pay for it? 22.5. So you don't want to get in that range game with the customer. Okay, say they start at 22.5, and of course they go up from there just depending how fancy you are. Okay, and that usually won't go into a customer saying, I want this option, I want this option. Hopefully you've handled the phone call accordingly up to that point that you did your qualifying to at least you got an idea. But if you have to, try the base price technique. Okay. Best price. Best price is the favorite of everyone, right? You guys have your one price approach, and then again, I'm sure you still may get a phone call or two with a customer and still wants something more. Does that happen?
All the time, because the customer doesn't know our one price.
Yeah. It's you know, but still, it's a good approach to have. So best price, you know, you're just reluctance, can't get the appointment. They say, you know what, well, just give me your best price. I've got a lot of techniques right here that you can look at. Well, you can say, well, Mr. Customer or Mr. Anderson or John, your presence is your leverage. Okay, when are you more available? An hour later today. That's just your really simple. You know, if you want best price, you know, your presence is your leverage. That's just a little easy, stab out there to see if you can't get them to come in on that. Another one is, Mr. Customer, I know getting the best possible deal is important to you, but there are a lot of different ways that I can save you money on this purchase. Here are two examples. Supply and demand is one. For instance, if I had 5 red ones and on the lot 1 blue one, which do you think I can save you the most money on? Okay. Secondly, manufacturers often have price increases and decreases throughout the year. Okay. Because of our large inventory, we may have identical F-150s on the lot with 2 different pricing structures. Okay. It could have been a running change, through the year. You know what I'm talking about? Everybody understand that? Not to mention that some of these F-150s come equipped differently, and that can factor in getting the best price. In my experience, I'll not only be able to help you find the right vehicle, but also get you the best price. When would you be more available? An hour later today or tomorrow, morning or afternoon? Here's one of my favorites about best price. I love it. I can get you best price on the phone, but I'll let you in on a little secret. My manager will give out the best price on the phone, and he will stick to that price. Now, I've seen him do better pricing in person on slow days. With that in mind, would you like a good price on the phone or a better price in person? Again, just a little stab just to try. You like that one?
Yeah. You can't use it though.
Okay. Oh, you guys can't. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's right. Well, exit out. Cross that out.
No, really, cross it out. No.
Cross that out. Don't use it. Okay, then let's not talk about the best price. Let's tear that page out. I'm kidding. Yes, tear that page out. 31 and 32, tear it out. There you go. It's okay. I got carried away. I understand though. He's right. He's right. So best price and base price, all that stuff. Well, base price you can use, but best price stay away. Okay, everybody good? I'll throw it away when we break for lunch. So just whatever you want to do with it. Just don't throw it at me. Okay, used car mileage technique. Used car mileage technique. Okay, never get out information, of course, more than we need to. Okay, without getting their requirements first. So when they're asking for mileage, we definitely want to get an idea or a barometer on, where their thoughts are on mileage. Okay, because they may have placed a mileage restriction on themselves, and we need to fill out to see where they're at. And if we're in line, then of course we give it to them. If we're not, we need to go a different route. So paint a positive picture for the customer, okay? And then of course, if you can't get the appointment, we want to give out that mileage as last resort. So the used car mileage technique is an approach when they ask how many miles are on a certain vehicle that's either online or they see on the lot. that you have advertised, okay? And what you want to say is, it sounds like as though you place a mileage restriction on yourself, okay? What type of mileage would a car like this have to have for you to be interested, okay? And that's hopefully getting them to talk, and tell you where their mindset is on mileage, okay? And then hopefully they'll answer you. Say, the reason I'm asking is because low mileage usually reflects a slightly higher price, and slightly higher miles usually reflect a slightly lower price, okay? If you had to choose between miles or price, which would you choose, okay? See what's more important. Is it miles or is it price, okay? As you probably know, consumers are taking better care of their cars these days, especially with all the fast oil and lube businesses available. These same people are also taking better care of their physical appearance of their vehicles as well, since they know that you'll have to compromise for the mileage once they have to trade in or sell. Okay, a lot of the cars we sell are designed to last 200,000 miles. I think you owe it to yourself to come in and see what we have before you make any kind of financial commitment elsewhere. What's better for you, daytime or evening, morning or afternoon, an hour later today? Okay, that's just getting the kind of idea on handling mileage suggestion. Okay, if you're in line, if your car is in line, if they say, if you say, what type of mileage would a car like this have to have for you to be interested? And they tell you 35,000 miles or 40,000 or 35 to 50, whatever that is, and your car's there, then certainly say, hey, great news, and then go into closing for the appointment. But if not, then we need to go that other route. Okay, so that's used car mileage technique. Ad payment technique. You guys advertise ad prices? Ad payments? Or strictly prices? Sometimes. No? Okay. Let's go. Don't worry about that. Cross to ad payment if that doesn't really affect you. Financially challenged technique, okay? How do you guys handle have what?
Credit connection. Buy here, pay here.
That's strictly where they go, or do you ever obtain financing for them?
They'll take a swing at it here,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
We have a buy here, pay here a lot.
Okay. How many of those customers are coming into the dealership? Or how many of those customers, let me ask a different question. How many of those customers are being handled before even coming into the dealership? Any decisions being made? For example, are you getting credit applications through the websites? Of course, that's consent, and then you get the credit pulled, you show your finance manager, and they say yay or nay right there. Sometimes, and it can happen. The reason I say that, I like everybody to work it. Obviously it's going to take effort. They're not always the easiest customers to get approved, get financed. I know you have to buy here, pay here, so that's a great option to go to. But I would work everybody as a regular appointment. Okay, go through your techniques, set your appointment. You know it's going to take effort, but my thought process behind that is, if you got this customer with 400 credit score, with who knows how much cash, sitting their couch at home through the internet or on the telephone, how committed and how obligated do they feel to work harder for you? Are they going to work that hard sitting on the couch without you having any control? So if you set your appointments, set them up, get them test driving, even though you have the credit application already. Get your finance department or your buy here, pay here to look at it accordingly. But you're showing some cars, you're test driving maybe, getting their emotions excited. Getting them excited about buying a car. And hopefully when it comes down to the qualification, and you've got some type of qualification from a bank or the buy here, pay here next door, you can let them know what it's going to take. Okay, we're going to need $3,000 down. We're going to need a co-signer. But once you've already got them working and getting in the mindset of buying a car, they may work a little harder for you to find that extra cash needed. They may work a little harder for you to find that co-signer. Okay, maybe call one extra person or two extra people. Whatever the case is, go ahead.
All our buy here, pay here cars are located on a completely different lot. We don't even have any.
Okay.
Ben, he's not talking about in-house finance.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that's your. If you got that resort, that's great. Okay, because then you can get some more.
That's for your business managers and your sales managers.
That's not business.
Okay.
Yeah, you're not gonna try to play who's the buyer on the phone ever. So.
Exactly.
Just
So
like
financially challenged technique. So if you got a little issue, one of the things specialized here at Anderson Ford is helping people just like yourself, rebuild or establish your credit history so that you can purchase a vehicle that best suits your needs. Okay, because we are such a large volume dealer, We're usually able to get our customers low rate financing when others can't. Okay, we'll probably have you driving in a car today. Now, when you're more available, an hour later today or tomorrow, morning or afternoon. Again, the whole idea, and you know it takes work. You know they're not the easiest. You know nobody likes chasing steps for this or that, but they buy cars too. Okay, it may take a little effort. You know nothing's easy in this business, always. So it may take a little effort. So set that appointment, have them show up, and get you and your management team to work it accordingly, just like anything else. That's just my thought process on that. Name and number technique. This is when you get the customer that just don't want to give you their name and phone number. And I like this one because it really, it works, okay? And it sounds like you had a bad experience giving your name and phone number to another salesperson. And for that, I apologize. It's too bad that a few rotten apples end up hurting reputable individuals like myself. Now, it sounds like to me that you're going to make a decision relatively soon. Is that correct? You say, yeah, well, and then they say, yeah, or yeah, maybe. You're going to be reluctant, obviously, because you're not giving your name and number. Well, at some point, you're going to have to give your information to somebody. Why can't it be me? Why can't it be now? Just ask them. You know, at some point, you're going to have to trust somebody. You know, but you're apologizing for an experience that you had nothing to do with, that they're upset about. Okay, and that's what we're doing. It sounds like to me that you had a bad experience in the past. So, you know, at some point, and it sounds like to me you're going to make a decision relatively soon. Is that correct? Well, at some point you're going to have to trust somebody. You know, why can't it be me? Why can't it be now? Just ask them point blank. You know, nothing wrong with that, and you can usually get them to get you that information once you ask that question. So, any questions on those techniques right there? Those are just baiting techniques when we're working on setting the appointment still from the inbound phone call. Okay, so if you're having trouble, your script's not going well, things are falling apart, these are 4, 5, 6 things to do just to kind of switch the mindset. Just go a different route. Say, well, this isn't working, let me try this. Okay, but keeping that in mind and understanding that you have these ways to go are going to make you that much more powerful, and they work. Okay, any questions on those? No?
Much time.
That's it.
Yeah, all right. If you need to take a smoke break, do it now and go get your plates. But be back up here at 12:30. Even if you just got your plate, come back up here and you can eat while we start at 12:30.
12:30?
Yeah.
If you got an appetite after the candy.
Coleman will go crazy.
Hey, sales teacher, come to the top.
Yeah, start at best price. Rip it out. Yeah, you're right. I heard totally. I got carried away. That's a good one. Right. Any candy is it?